You want to go to Disney World? We'll give you free tickets, but you got to go see a 90-minute presentation. I created a script of pure heat that's like straight fraud. I'm calling my friends and I'm like, hey, look, quit your job. I'm going to literally make you life-changing money. And I'm talking millions of dollars. The FBI runs in there. So I left. Upon arriving in the Dominican Republic, I look over, it's a police officer, and he's got a piece of paper with my face on it. My dad was stationed in Keflavik, which is the NATO base in Iceland. Ultimately, I got enough trouble where the CEO of the base, the captain of the base, said, hey, look, we're going to kick him off. So my dad thought it'd be a great idea for me to move with my aunt and uncle in Atlanta, Georgia. And it was very interesting because this actually was probably my first introduction to crime. My aunt was the head of an Marshall's distribution center for the whole Southeast. And that's kind of where all the trucks and would basically congregate and distribute throughout the whole Southeast section. And I remember when I first moved there, my aunt gives me this huge bag, like a bag full of like clothes, starter, guest watches, colognes. And I was like, I've never even seen these kind of things in Iceland because, living in Iceland so secluded, you see these things and you want them, but they're just not available. So seeing those things, I was just like a kid in a candy store, and I've always had a passion for fashion. I never questioned it. I just thought it was something that my aunt did. But it would turn out that every Sunday I would wake up because she would work their third shift and I would wake up to a huge bag of goodies.
I mean, she's pilfering the trucks that come in. She's grabbing the best stuff.
What turned out is she was running a bootleg operation in Atlanta. She ended up going to the feds as well.
Oh.
Yeah, they would basically rent homes and they would basically turn them into shopping centers for people to buy discounted on the discount. She had a truck driver that she would work with and just let him drive off with a whole 18-wheeler. So
she's kind of a gangster.
She's the OG. I always tell her, you're the original gangster. Yeah, for sure. I noticed when I first got there how life changed dramatically. Everything in the house is new. This is when big screens were just brand new. So you had those big, huge ones. So big screen TVs and money everywhere. I remember my aunt telling me, hey, listen, can you sweep up the floor? Which is a normal chore you would do as a kid. And I'll get $20 for this, $20 for that. And I'm like, $60 by noontime, just doing basic household chores that I would have to do for free. And I noticed just how life changed from that point. And I knew something. I'm not, I'm above average intelligent person. And I could tell something is going on,
right.
And this kind of went on for a couple of years. And I remember she had a simple routine. She would probably regularly do it, but it was a specific night. It was Saturday night going to Sunday night. That was like the night that I know I would go down to the basement or rec room and you will see the whole thing loaded with huge bags, industrial sized garbage bags full of clothes, suits, jewelry, watches, clothes, It got so much that the entrepreneur in me, the little hustler in me, I would actually, get some of the watches and some of the clones, guest watches, and I was selling them in school. Got a little popular for that. I even sold them to my teachers because, I had it. So one night in particular, I remember my uncle would go, I don't know what he actually did, but he would leave for a little bit and always come back. I remember one night he went and he didn't come back, as in on schedule. So My aunt called and I had a cousin named Tammy and she was asking Tammy, hey, is your uncle back yet? Oh, no, your father back yet? She says, no. So then she would call again, hey, is Uncle James back yet? And I was like, no, he's not back yet. So she got a little worried and she can know something is going on. The routine changed. And we all know when you get the little spider senses, when you're doing something bad, you can tell, okay, hey, something's different. So
does she think he's running around or he got arrested?
Yeah, I believe she thinks he was getting arrested. Yeah, okay. She could sense something is not right. Me and my cousin at that time she's 15, I'm 14, and she had a little driving permit, so we go to drive where my aunt worked. And as we get there, we both get out the car, and I'm a kid, I don't know anything about anything, but one of my postures was I had my hands in my pocket when So as soon as we pull up there, an officer literally pulls out a gun and says, hey, put your hands on your pocket, And I'm like, what's going on here? You know what I mean? Ultimately, I was able to put two and two together. The gig was up, so on and so forth. So I ended up coming back to the house. And when I got back to the house, my Uncle James actually called me from the county jail and said, hey, Gunnar, get everything out of the house that has a Marshall's tag in it. So I'm like, holy shit, everything in this fucking house has a Marshall tag on it.
Right.
I can't do this by myself. So I ended up going to get my neighbor. His name was TJ, really cool kid. So I go grab him and say, hey, TJ, it's 2 a.m. look, I need your help. He goes, what do you want to do? I said, I need you to help me move all this stuff out the house. And I said, look, first, you can pick anything and everything you want, but you need to help me get all this stuff out the house.
Right.
He said, all right, cool, I got you. So he goes over to the house and literally went like on a shopping spree, and he bags up his stuff and takes it to his house, 2 houses down. So it's probably like 2:30 in the morning. So all night we're bagging things up, and we ended up carrying it over to where my neighbor lived, and he was actually the truck driver that was working with my aunt. So I would just basically take all the bags, load them up. Like these things are like probably 30, 40 pounds, and throw them over the fence. So we're literally doing this all night. Sun comes up, finally finished. And now me and him are like, what are we going to do? I was like, let's just go to church, because they had this really big church next there. So we dress up in these suits that we had from Marshalls and all this stuff. And sure enough, we go to a little church service and we come back. And mind you, I'm not like a religious person. It was just something to do. So we get back. And as we get back, shortly after that,
FBI shows.
yeah.
Is this FBI that grabbed them?
Well, I think it started with
Local?
GBI, Georgia Bureau of Investigation.
Right.
Yeah, it started with them. And I think it, funneled up. FBI picked it up, or the feds picked it up.
Yeah.
So,
Well, it's a national company, so
Yeah.
there's a good chance of that. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. Well, especially because
All
they're
across states. Yeah,
because
yeah,
they're
yeah.
moving merchandise.
Absolutely. Yeah.
That's why a lot of people, like, if they rob like a 7-Eleven that's like some kind of national, sometimes the feds will pick it up. You're like, he robbed a 7-Eleven. Yeah, he robbed 6 7-Elevens, and it's a national company.
Got you. That actually makes
For
sense.
some reason.
Yeah.
For I don't know exactly.
Well, I
what
feel
it
like the
is.
feds are very thirsty. They want to get everybody in the feds now. But that makes sense. So, yeah, they show up with my aunt, and she's like, hey, tell them where, show them where everything's at. She didn't know my uncle called me.
Right.
So, I didn't know that she didn't know. So I was like, okay, if she didn't tell me that, we could have, it's not like they were going to get away with it anyway, because they had enough evidence. Yeah, they obviously did their investigation, so on and so forth. But whatever was found at the house, or, it would have been included in the indictment, so on and so forth. But there was probably like 30, 40 bags. So they ended up getting that.
Oh, so she said, show them where the bags are, and you thought she meant where you dumped the bags.
That's what I thought, but that's not
okay.
what she meant. I don't know really what she was actually asking me to do,
Right.
Or help them, or it'd just be, so I just sold everything where it was at, and they ended up taking that. Ultimately, that morning, they got arrested. My uncle was locked up. I was like, so now here I'm 14, my cousin's 15, we're home by ourselves. So
Right.
I ultimately called my dad. Hey, Dad.
I'm not gonna believe this.
He just got locked up. So he, being in Iceland, obviously has to coordinate, and he immediately came as fast as he could. And at that point in time, my aunt got locked up. My uncle ended up getting bonded. They both got bonded out. At that point in time, my dad realized, okay, living here with them is not going to work anymore, obviously. So my dad decided to retire to Orlando.
How much time's your aunt get?
Oh, yeah.
Do you
So
remember?
she ended up getting 5 years.
What'd your uncle get?
Uncle got, I think, 2 years, but he was able to do it with some kind of weekend thing.
Okay.
Because he wasn't the main.
He went in the ring later.
Correct. Yeah. I don't know what the other gentleman got. Being that age, I didn't really get that disclosed to me. I do remember Aunt Lorraine got 5 years. Uncle James got 2. And he was able to do it on the weekends. So now, we moved to Orlando, Florida. It was really interesting because, I came from, in Atlanta, it was a predominantly black. I was in DeKalb County, went Southwest DeKalb High School, predominantly black. You'd probably see 1 or 2 white guys or white people. They actually go, what you is, Italian? So they didn't really know what I actually was. So, but I identified black and white, So I moved to Orlando. And in Orlando, it was predominantly Puerto Rican, you have whites, obviously. It was a good mix, depending on which side of town you're on. I was from the east side, and it was a good mix. Puerto Ricans, blacks, whites, Dominican, it was more of a demographic that based on your, I guess, income versus color, and that was one of the things that, Atlanta was very segregated. Orlando, I attended a University High School, which is right across the street from University of Central Florida. And I was a basketball player, eat, drink, and sleep basketball. I think that actually helped me with a lot of things in life, kept me focused and kept me out of trouble. Not really saying I was a troublesome person, but it just, all you would do is practice. And if you weren't practicing, you're playing. And if you weren't playing, you're doing things that, with the basketball players. So we ended up, this was actually going to be an introduction to my very first, I guess you could say, crime. I was 16, 17 years old, and the Orlando Magic were probably the best team, one of the best teams in the NBA. They were going to the finals. They had Shaq, Penny, Nick Anderson, Dennis Scott, Horace Grant. They literally went to the finals that year. And I got a job working for the Orlando Magic Fanatic. It was me and my girlfriend at the time, a high school sweetheart. And we would work inside the arena, and the arena would have 4 different booths, okay? And back then, there weren't cameras and a lot of the technology we have now. And what they would do is they'll give us a cash box. The cash box had $200 in it. So at the end of the night, you would basically, when you sold an item, because it wasn't a digital cash register, it was just a little box. You tear off a tag if you sold a jersey, put it in the box, make the change. So your money equaled the amount of tags. One night, as we're working, and mind you, at this point in time, they're overproducing Magic apparel because this is like the best thing that hit Orlando, you know, for a sports genre. So one night, I actually was doing my counting at the end, and it turned out I was $90 over. And I'm like, oh, shit. I don't want to get fired for that. Like, I did something wrong. But then I started thinking to myself, well, damn.
Over. They're not going to fire for over.
Yeah, but then I said to myself, well, what if I take the $90 and I'm even?
Right.
So
Just seems like the right thing to do.
it just makes sense.
Right.
You know what I mean? No. So I ended up pocketing the $90 and was scared shitless. I was like, the next time I went to work, I worked probably 3-4 days a week because I worked Magic, Solar Bears, and Orlando Predators at the time, that little indoor football thing, arena football. So I come back to work the next time and just knowing I'm going to get fired. And sure enough, no one said anything. And that was like the worst thing that could have happened too, because it's like, oh shit.
We hear that sometimes.
I cracked the code, you know?
Yeah.
I was like, okay, I'm gonna test the waters. You know, and mind you, I'm like 17 years old, you know, and I have no bills or nothing, you know, just a kid that goes to school, you know? So I took $270 this time. And sure enough, went back to work again. No one ever said anything.
So you sold the jerseys, you just didn't account for the sale.
So what I would do is I would sell, and I just wouldn't put the tag in because they did no inventory.
Yeah, because it's not like they're counting up at the, okay,
Yeah.
we're supposed to have 150 of these. We only have 147.
Correct. You know, and it just got to a point where everything at the end of the night, I just had everything in there. So what I'll do is I'll take out this many dollars worth of tags and then just take out, so it just made it even. So I wasn't even doing anything at the end of the night. So I just did as I was regular working. And sure enough, you know, it went up to a point where I was taking $1,000 a night. You know, at 17 years old, and I worked 3-4 nights a week. And the crazy thing is it's 3 of us in a booth, and you know, everyone would go to their own little section at the end when we pull down a thing and to count their money. One time I walked in on to somebody, and he was doing, hold on. I'm like, what happened? He goes, oh no, nothing. I was like, no, it's cool. Are you doing it? He goes, yeah. Why? I said, I do it too. We're good.
Right.
Everybody in there was doing it. We had actually a English teacher that worked, and that was her second job in the evening. She was doing it. So we were all like, you know, in cahoots. Yeah, taking a little off the top. But we weren't, you know, obviously still I would always still, out of 3 people in the booth, I would always top seller. You know, I always want to still be the best. But yeah, everybody was doing it, you know, and it turned into something now. You know, I'm coming back to high school or going back to school, and me and my girlfriend are skipping school on a bus going to Fashion Square Mall, and I'm coming back with racks of shoes and then catching the school bus home. You know, I'm buying shoes, the kid stuff. Like, it didn't really buy anything serious, but just have all kinds of drip, as in clothing and shoes and stuff like that. Ultimately, it got to a point where one of the kids who actually got us hired, and this is the thing about this, you know, you get overconfident and it's just never enough, you know? So
You become brazen.
yeah, and I didn't know anything about anything. So several times people would go there and they would buy with credit card and they would leave the card. So I don't know why I did. I just thought it'd be cool, whatever. I could now use the card when I go shopping instead of the cash. And ultimately it worked. We did it at, I think it was called Bird Eyes at the time, but
I remember Bird Eyes.
Bird Eye, yeah. It was like a Florida one, right?
Yeah.
It was specific items. Oakley's, Hilfiger, so on and so forth. So the kid who actually got us hired, he was really close with like the owners and stuff like that. So they ultimately said, hey, look, somebody from one of the booths, because they can't tell which one, took this. I think they might have been able to know from the terminal. They might have, yeah. So it came out of 3 people. So ultimately, he saw me with those exact items. The Oakley ones look like the bug eyes.
Right.
I don't know if you remember those back in the 90s. They were real hip. So I had those specific Oakleys on in Hilfiger. So they couldn't prove anything, but it was enough to suspect that they didn't want to.
You didn't tell him you bought them from Jimmy? I bought them from Jimmy.
Well, that's the thing. They ultimately never even asked me. You know what I mean? That's the thing. They just knew.
And I'll be honest with you, I think he's doing something with the inventory too.
I do too. You need to look. You need to look at him. Yeah,
Jimmy's
the guy. You know what I mean? But ultimately, we didn't get fired or anything like that. But they
started counting the inventory.
No, they. Well, I actually don't know how if they did that. They just didn't take us. Like, see, you would come back the next season. Because what it was, this is why they couldn't do the inventory. In the arena, they had these like little roof things, that little tile roof things that can come off. And the people that worked maintenance for the arena, they would go down there and steal, and they knew it. It was so much that they couldn't.
They're also probably, I wonder if they just don't care. Like
they're making so much money.
We're printing jerseys for $4 a piece, and we're selling them for
$45, $100. Absolutely. Yeah, that's exactly what it was.
So if we lose 25% to theft, we're still making a killing.
Yeah, we're still making out.
All right.
So, but they felt, I guess the trust level was gone. But at that point in time, like I remember I saved up almost $40,000 as a kid.
Holy shit.
Yeah. And I remember I got suspended for school I can't remember, something very minor, something like that. They suspended me for 3 days. And mind you, I don't really even get in trouble. But I ended up getting suspended. During that time, I told my dad, because my dad, knows I've been working. So I say, hey, Pops, listen, I want to go buy a car. I've been saving, da, da, da. He goes, oh, I'm very proud of you, son. Okay. I said, Dad, I got $3,500. I want to put down. He was so happy that
$3,500. Oh,
yeah.
You knew enough to say it, not say
$4,000.
absolutely.
Yeah, no. I definitely didn't want to do that. He's like, son, you know what? You make your car payments. I'll pay your insurance for you. So I was like, okay, great. So we went to the Navy Federal Credit Union and got a loan. I went and bought myself at that time a little Honda Prelude 2-door. During that time of suspension, bought a brand new car, went and tricked it out, had new rims on it. Back then, the biggest ones they had were 16-inch. Put another system in it. Had like one of the coolest systems in it, So I come back from suspension with a brand new car, tricked out, so on and so forth. Now, I went ahead and went back to my bank where my dad got the loan, and which was the Navy Federal, and he didn't know what I was doing, but the car was in my name and his name. So I went and paid off the car. Right. And at that point in time, I had no car payment.
He has no clue. Yeah. He has no clue you're not making the payments.
Has no clue. But he doesn't even know the car was paid off. So I actually had a pretty good credit at that very young age, or good loan status. I don't really know what credit was at that age. That actually was kind of like my first introduction of fast money, and it was something that was a gift and a curse, because once you start making that kind of money very easily, it's very hard to go do a regular job and you see that, oh, I can do this, that. So that was a gift and a curse, I guess you could say.
Yes, we get the guys that say, they do, just like me, the first time I did something, the worst thing that could have happened was I got away with it. Yeah. And it makes me think of there was two Chinese bankers who had stolen some money from a Chinese bank. They worked and they bought lottery cards and they won. And so they won money. Then they were able to put the money back, and they had made like $100,000 or something. So they were like, that was the worst thing that happened, because then they went and borrowed more. Yeah. They took more money, and the next time they lost.
Overconfident.
And they executed
Super
them.
Optimist, I think they call it.
Yeah, they executed them.
Oh my, killed them.
Because they're not fucking around in China. You know what I'm saying? Talk about one that went bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the worst thing that could have happened was the fucking guy won. Because he could have stolen the amount of money and put back some of it. They wouldn't have really noticed the $1 million he had stolen. Yeah. But when they took $15 million.
But they killed him for it.
Oh, they killed him for it. It's China.
Yeah.
They're not playing around. And they stole from the Bank of China or something. Yeah.
Oh, hell
so
no.
It's the same thing. You get overconfident. That's the worst thing, is you become emboldened by it, and you start getting brazen, and you start doing crazier and crazier shit.
One up each one.
Yeah.
Now, after high school, or during high school, I got introduced to Orlando's. They had a rave scene, in the late 90s, early 2000s. Florida had a sound, or Central Florida had a breakbeat music sound. And I started going to raves, experimenting with drugs at the time. I was never really into drugs or that scene as a younger kid, because I was an athlete, and I just thought drugs would kill you if you did it.
Right.
And, also growing up in Iceland, being sheltered like that, there's really no drugs around. So everything you hear about it is either from Dare commercials. So I go to these raves and experimenting, and I got into the scene of dancing and break b-boying as things that were popular during that time. So while everybody was, and I graduated high school and I was going to go on to college, and just college wasn't really for me. I wanted to, and I consider myself an intelligent person. I was blessed with close to a photographic memory. I can't say I have a photographic, but damn near. And that's kind of been a gift and a curse in itself. I would go to school and I would just pay attention. And then a night before, kind of cram a little, and I did above average in grades. But college didn't really appeal to me. My father being in the military, he thought, hey, go to the military. And I almost did that. The Navy recruiter was just a little too thirsty. I wasn't sure if I wanted to do it, and I would get off the school bus or come home, and he's already there stalking me. And I was like, okay, hold on. This guy is like, something's going on. If you want me to get in there that bad, that's just, so I got kind of turned off from that. And also military life wasn't really for me, I am a creative thinker, I don't like to be tied down or conform to a certain way. I like to be able to be creative and free. And the military, it definitely is a good thing. They teach you discipline. There's so many good qualities in it, and I probably could have used that at that young age, but I didn't. So I continued to just do telemarketing jobs. I was always really good at articulating, communicating, and I guess I call it blessed with a silver tongue. So I was telemarketing during these times while I was partying in the rave scene, and I would have friends that went this way and I went that way. I didn't get into the illegal activity of drug dealing. I would party with everyone, but I seemed to know and network with all the big dealers. And it wasn't something I'm bragging about because everyone probably knows somebody, but the thing was, they continued to be the hustlers, and I was continuing to go to work, and I would basically be a weekend warrior, and as I progressed with sales, I would learn different techniques and so on and so forth. So I always carried a job and maintained it. Sometimes I would get fired because I partied, but I would always get another job in sales. And that went on for years until finally I got told, hey, you should do TIMESHARE. I was like, what's that? And the guy who was telling me was driving this, I think it was some badass Infinity. And he was like my age. And I'm like, he goes, well, you can make this. And I was like, you drive that from there? He goes, yeah. And I was like, how much money? He goes, dude, I make like $9,000-$10,000 a month. And this is like back in 2003, 2004.
Yeah, it's a ton of money.
And I'm like, holy shit.
In Florida?
Yeah, like
that's like
I need
making
that.
$500,000 a
Literally.
year in California.
Absolutely. So I was like, and you're like my age, and you basically, he was like dressed in, and I love to dress. I like to be clean, neat, I'm very particular about my presentation. So I said, you get to go to work like that and make that kind of money and drive something like that. I was like, I'm in. So I ended up going to get hired. I got hired at Westgate, which was at the time, probably still is, probably the biggest one.
I've heard of Westgate.
Yeah, Westgate Resorts. So I got hired at Westgate, went and got my real estate license, which was a difficult thing. It's very tricky,
Do you have to get your real estate
license?
license?
If you wanted to get commission, and it's because it's technically you're selling real estate, even though because it's deeded time and space. So in order to get commission, you have to have a real estate license. Now, I didn't start off with it because you can actually work for the developer, which would hold the license, and they can pay you a daily salary. And even at that time, you'd go in 6 a.m. and you'll get out 12 o'clock. No, you start at 7. I'll get there at 6. The line opens up at 7. And what that basically means is they have these booths on high traffic areas and tourist areas. And they're saying, hey, would you like some free Disney tickets? Disney tickets are like 80, 90 at that time, $100 per ticket. Sure, family of 4, want to save money. Absolutely. Well,
I understand. You're not calling.
No, I'm doing tours. I'm referring to how they got people in to take these tours so I could take them on a 90-minute presentation to sell them a $30,000, $40,000 property.
When you said timeshares, I just assumed it was like a call center.
No, that's timeshare resale.
Oh, okay.
That's the crime or the industry I was in, which ultimately got me indicted.
Okay.
This is my introductory to the world of timeshare.
So you're just going to people in Orlando and seeing like a family and saying, "Hey, by the way, would you like to?"
No. I worked at the physical resort.
Okay.
I'm in a suit and tie. I'm that person that the family goes to at 7 a.m. because they want to get a free ticket to the park. That somebody said, "Hey, if you want to go to Disney World, SeaWorld, we'll give you free tickets, but you got to go see a 90-minute presentation
Okay.
at this resort at this time."
Got it.
So I'm that guy. So you would basically show up to work, suit and tie, spiffy. Presentation is very, very important. People judge you on your looks and your appearance. You don't want to be too flashy or too successful. You want to still, you find a happy medium. So, hey, John, Mary, and you call them, they show up. You got a little ticket, you take them on a presentation. And it's a 90-minute tour. It's what they signed up for. But the truth is, there's no way you can go through that 90 minutes. It's my job to earn another 90 minutes while I'm with them. And ultimately, at the end of that 90 minutes, or I say 2 to 3 hours, you want to get them to buy right now.
Right.
So it is high pressure sales because there's no be-backs, there's no callbacks. It's right here, right now. So I ultimately, again, I got trained very well by them. I got to definitely compliment their training. They teach you how to sell emotionally. They teach you all the different techniques, and sales is an art form that can be learned.
Yeah.
There is also things that can't be learned, like the communication or just the personality. I'm a genuine guy.
Right.
Like, I'm in the business of people, but I genuinely like people. You know what I mean?
It's that sincerity. If you can fake that, you got it made.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
My dad told me that. He goes, and you can fake it. You've got that one. And then all the different closes, the economic close, the
just absolutely.
What is it? The economic close. God, there's like 6 different types of closings.
There's trial closes. There's
I used
absolutely.
to know the name of all of them too. But I remember the takeaway close.
The takeaway close, absolutely.
Yeah.
That was my biggest one.
Yeah.
I loved it.
This isn't for you.
You know what? This isn't for you.
No, I want to buy it.
Yeah.
I want to buy.
People want what they can't have. You know what I mean? It's just like you've been in a relationship.
This
You're
is too much. This is too expensive for you.
Yeah.
You need to look at a smaller place. No, I want the 3-bedroom.
you need something that better fits your family.
Yeah.
Sorry. Mrs. Jones just bought this one. Sorry. Let me check my inventory, see if we can find a better unit for you. That's just like how it is. Like, I think in everything, when you do a takeaway, like you have a girlfriend and you like her and everything, she likes you, and all of a sudden that, she doesn't like you. Now, oh shit.
Oh,
I love you.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'm big on the moment they're like, I don't know, I'm not sure. Oh, hey, you know what? We're done. We're good. Thanks. Good luck. And walk away. And then they're like, wait.
Yeah, absolutely. Humans want what they can't have.
Yeah.
It doesn't really become super valuable until it's either rare or not available.
Mm-hmm. What's horrible is that there will be people in the comments section saying, salesmen are horrible. You guys are horrible people. And we are. I'm okay with it.
Listen,
It served me well.
Yeah. As I said, if you're in sales and you don't want to make money, but obviously, like I said,
Yeah,
there comes a fine line.
You don't want to make money, then you're in the wrong fucking business.
Totally.
Like
They say the sales industry has the most millionaires out of any industry, at least back then. I don't know now. So
my mom used to always say, like when I was like, oh, I don't know how I'm going to get a job. This is when I was locked up. She's like, you're a salesman.
You're always
always.
It's the same thing I told my dad.
Yeah.
Always.
Yeah.
You can find, there's a sale going on in absolutely, whether they're selling or you selling them, yes, but there's every product or everything has to have
It has to have a salesman.
Absolutely.
And what's so funny about it too is that when you go, it's funny, like if you're not a salesman and you go in for a salesman job and you walk in and you say the right things and you look, the guy knows you're not a salesman.
No, a fisherman could spot another fisherman from afar.
Absolutely. You walk in, you're like, hey man, what's going on? Hey, yeah, I'm here for the sales job. That right then, it's almost like they're looking at you and they're talking to you for 3 minutes and they're almost like, here's your office. Like they already know. Yeah. The guy who's not a salesman can talk for 30 minutes and be the nicest guy and it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. You're not going to sell.
I actually wouldn't even refer to myself as a salesman. Because to me, that's a different level. I'm a closer.
Oh, okay.
I turn no's into yes. You know what I mean? And if anything, I'll find a need. And if you don't have a need for it, I'll create one that you didn't even know. So I definitely feel it's an art form. Yeah, any individual that has been in sales successfully, closers, and there's different kind of closers as well, personalities, so on and so forth. And I was one of those individuals. I was a backdoor closer. I would sell you without you knowing you're being sold.
Right.
Because like people already automatically come in like, I know I'm about to get this intense, you know what I mean? And I'll tell them, hey, look, I'm going to show you this property. I'm going to explain how it works, how it benefit you and your family. At the end, all I'm going to do is ask you if this is something you would rather do. Fair enough.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I'm not going to press you to do anything. You know, when you learn how to sell by emotion, because a lot of times people sell homes, features, location, but if you sell by emotion, like you and your family, it's like if you have a pool and a person will come, or a home that has a pool, and you want to go sell the home. And a normal real estate agent will say, hey, you're going to have a pool here. This is one of the features. We touch base on it, but tell them the memories you're going to make with your family, with your kids growing up, so on, and the barbecues, that quality time. And like, how can you say no to that? You know?
Yeah.
So
this could be your kid's bedroom.
Yeah.
You know, your kids can play. They can go right out here to where the beach is.
You can start a legacy that's going to be
passed down. You can see them
down
the whole time. They can be here in the pool. You can see them from the balcony, which is great.
Know your kids are going to be home.
They're envisioning
that emotion. You know, that emotion it invokes that makes you. You're going to start a legacy that your children's children are going to pass on. You know, and that's
horrible. Horrible.
But if you learn that technique, you could turn those no's into yeses.
I'm just people helping people. You're just trying to help people.
Hey, I'm in a people business.
I want to help you build memories with your family.
It's all about quality time.
Right.
Yeah. Help me help you.
It's horrible.
You know? And that was one of the...
you guys are scumbags.
Well, this is the thing. Look, I was brainwashed. This is the crazy thing.
Right.
I was actually brainwashed. Westgate does a very good job.
Right.
First of all, the training's 3 weeks long. Okay. And you got to memorize a 90-minute script in 3 weeks. Now, mind you, don't get it all one time, but they'll give you like 5-6 pages that you got to memorize. Next day, you got to write it down word for word. So one, your memory got to be good, but they also teach you and brainwash you into believing timeshare. And that's one of the why I was really good at it.
Right.
I literally believed I was helping people.
And at the same time, you ended up getting your real estate license too.
Correct. So I ultimately, now one of the things about timeshare, they do percentages, what percentage close you are. So in order to keep your job, you had to be a minimum, I think 12 to 15. And if you're making 12 to 15% closer, you're making a good $75,000 a year. 20% closure, you're making 100 grand. 25 and up, you're doing 150, 200 grand a year. Now, not trying to boost a brag, but I was a 36% closer.
Right.
And I was rolling in the dough. And I'm a young little hot shot. I go to work, suit and tie. And, you come in there with your nice watch and you say, hi, how you doing? They had a lot of good looking individuals. The females were good looking. The males were, technically, they took care of themselves. It was a good looking environment. And the environment was very positive. Everyone's making money. And that's what it was. And everybody in that environment, it was like fast life, fast cars, fast women type, lifestyle. You would go to work at 6 a.m, start at 7, technically, get out at 12, go home, take a nap. Sometimes if you sold, you never even go home. You just go hit the Applebee's, TGI Fridays, and then you start drinking there, celebrating. If you didn't sell, you're actually celebrating the other guy's sale. Right. Or if you didn't sell, you're actually drinking because you didn't sell. So it was always a reason to go drink. So you end up drinking, and then next thing you know, you go from 2 in the afternoon, 4 or 5. Now you're at happy hour at the other spot. Then next thing you know, you're at Blue Martini, and then you're actually at the strip club throwing out a bunch of money until about 3, 4 in the morning, and then you get a little power nap, and you're back doing it again. And it was just a very fast life, and it was fun,
How long does this go on?
I did timeshare for about 3 years. Ultimately, I did Westgate for 2 years. Then I did a year at Orange Lake, which Orange Lake took my sales skills because of the training they had there. It just took it to another level. Right. So I started selling, and I was in deeding every day. Like I remember I had like 9 days in a row, which is deeding, which means you close the property. So just to give you an example, when you sell a timeshare property, like they take one unit and they sell it 52 times. And that unit ranges from 40,000, and again, they have different things, but I'm just going to give you a little synopsis. 40,000 down to 9,000 or even 5,000, which they can actually do little tricky things to make it affordable. The main thing is this, back then, they would literally give you $100 to take a tour. That person could take that $100, use it as their down payment, and next thing you know, you're walking out with a timeshare property stuck with a $400 or $500 bill. I get my commission because it's financed through whoever financed it. But so I was literally selling people timeshare that they couldn't even afford. So you're out there selling properties, $40,000 to $30,000, $20,000, and I was making sometimes $20,000, $30,000 a month. Just in commissions. Then you get bonuses because if you hit this tier, you're going to get this. So I was making a really good living with that. And what ultimately happened was I didn't renew my 45-hour real estate license. And every 2 years you have to do that. And it turns out,
what the fuck?
Yeah.
You're making that kind of money. You gotta maintain.
yeah, well, they make you reapply, kind of like to show. No, they don't. They make you take updated like regulations, laws, and whatnot. So when you don't do that,
Continuing education.
somewhat
Courses,
like that,
okay.
yeah, they want to make sure you're still updated with the laws and regulations that were.
Okay.
Every 2 years they make you do that. If they're still, I don't know if it's still like that. Back when I was in the early 2000s, that's what they required.
Right.
I ended up not doing it, so I ultimately lost my license. So I was still selling my ass off in the resorts. I was actually number 2 in the resort. And number 1, she was getting a $30,000 bonus that month, and I'm not getting anything. I'm on a daily salary, which means I made $200 a day. Mind you, $200 a day for 6 hours a day, maybe 30 hours a week, so that's $1,000. Not bad.
Right.
But the truth is,
But it's not $20,000 a month.
but what happens is when you're making $20,000 a month, your lifestyle increases.
Right.
Your bills increases. So I was making $20,000. Now I'm dropped to $1,000 a week, but my lifestyle was still exactly the same. So I was literally barely making it. You know, I was struggling, and I'm like top rep in the resort. So the girl I was dating at that time, this is my introductory to timeshare resale, which is a whole nother industry in its own. I've always heard about it when I was selling timeshare, and I would always kind of like, it was like the black sheep of the timeshare, you know? So ultimately, my girlfriend at the time, she worked for Westgate. She no longer worked for him. She was working for some gentleman, Universal Timeshare, and that was a timeshare resale company. So we're dating, and mind you, I get up in the morning, go to work. She doesn't even get up to like 10:30 in the morning. And she goes to work at 11 or 12 and gets off at 7. So she doesn't work weekends. One of the things in timeshare, they make you work weekends. And at that time in my life, I like my weekends. You know, it's the best time to go out and party. So she ultimately, I saw her one time with a check, $1,300. And I'm thinking to myself, like, you barely work. How the hell did you get a check for it? And you're not even cashing it because your other check was still sufficient. You know what I mean? And you barely, you know I can close 10 times more than you. So I was like, what do you do? Oh, I just do timeshare resale. We're on the phones. And she explained that we sell advertising and marketing. So I was like, shit, I need a second job, you know? So she said, okay, I'll tell my boss. So I called the gentleman and I was like, hey, I work at Orange Lake. I need another job because they started basically, some days were 11 to 1. Some days they started 1 o'clock to 7 o'clock in the evening. So I was like, that's perfect. I get off 12 o'clock. I could be right over there and go straight to work. Second job. He's like, hey, can you come in tomorrow? I was like, yeah, sure. So I come in. Mind you, it's a very relaxed office environment. I come in with a suit and tie, like, you know, some kind of CEO type stuff. So I come in with a suit and tie, and I asked the gentleman, hey, I get a job? He goes, yeah, I'll hire you. If you can walk, talk, and breathe, they'll hire you.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't realize that, you know what I mean? So I got hired first day. I was like, okay, so are we gonna have a training? They're like, oh, no, just read the script. It wasn't even a script, it's like an introduction.
Right.
I say, what else do I do? They say, call these numbers and read the script. I was like, what? Well, you know, I understood how timeshare is sold and the whole dynamics of all that. So
There wasn't a 3-week training course?
nothing. Like literally, hey, sink or swim. So, and it's all commission. So you either make it or you don't. So what I would do, I get on the phone, dialed, and I'll read the little script. And I added all my own stuff. And I got that far. I'm like, okay, that didn't work. Turn to read the script, call again. I got a little further. That worked. So I write that down. So now I'm like making my script as I'm going. Call again. I got a little further. So ultimately, I just created my own script by trial and error with the skills that I've already developed over the years. Now, that very day, first day, I ended up making $700. And I'm like, holy shit. I done cracked the code. Like this right here, if I focus on this, like I could literally, at that day and time of my life, I could make a boatload of money and be completely no pressure. Now, mind you, I was selling advertisement. Okay, now what that basically means is we cannot promise them, hey, you're going to sell your time. You want to sell your timeshare. Hey, I'm going to sell your timeshare. It's sold. That's illegal, obviously. But hey, look, we can advertise and market it, give it all the exposure for it to potentially sell, you know, versus you doing absolutely nothing, stuck with your monthly payments, though, with the maintenance fees, so on and so forth, you know? So these people, regardless, whatever it is they do, whether they use their timeshare or not, they're stuck with those fees.
Right.
That was one of the things that started to change the way I looked at it. Like, these families were promised they're going to have this life-changing experience, vacationing, but they're actually stuck with a lifetime of maintenance fees and taxes. So I understood that. So going into the timeshare resale, I just used all that, you know, as my advantage. Say, look, whether you do this or not, you're going to be stuck with that. At least if you pay this, at that time it was $1,350, $1,350. You know, we'll market it for the next 90 days.
And you guys then take the information on the timeshare and you put it on a website.
Correct. Look,
try and
this is
sell.
This is the tricky thing. Like, right? Let's how
and nobody's going to that website. Yeah, nobody's buying.
It's like a needle in a haystack.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Now, if we don't sell it in the 90 days, don't worry. We're going to market it till it's sold on our expense.
Yeah, it's just nothing. It's on a website,
dude.
It's a
just
photograph.
Type it in, put it there, and that's it.
Yeah.
Like,
what's what's horrible about this is that you're now on the phone saying, man, the guy that talked you into this, what was he thinking? I can't believe he stuck you with this. But that was you, that's you that morning. That's you. That was me 2 hours ago. That's a dirtbag.
I know exactly how they were sold.
You deserve better than this. Yeah. What did he tell you? Did he tell you that you were going to? Did he tell you that you could see your kids swimming in the pool and you were going to build memories? Oh,
what a dirtbag! Yeah, they always get you with that one. Yeah, I know. So I knew both ends of the spectrum. So,
oh my God!
So it played to my advantage. Ultimately, I was making enough money at the timeshare resale that I didn't even want to go to the resort, wake up 6 a.m. Or actually, we had to wake up 5 and be there at 6. I don't know. So I let Orange Lake fire me.
Right.
So I can get unemployment.
Right.
It's a little bonus check. I know. Listen, I'm sorry, but it is what it is.
I can see you feel bad. I can see you feel bad about it.
I like nice things. So at that point in time, I'm collecting unemployment from Orange Lake, and I'm working under the table with this company called Universal Timeshare. And I ultimately basically had 3 people in the office outside of myself, and I was running circles around everybody, and everybody was like, wow. So what they would do is they'll bring me their deals that they just can't close and say, hey, Gunnar, can you close this for me? I was like, well, I'll close it for you, but I'll split the commission.
Right.
So now I'm doing my own deals. Now I got like everyone, and they do literally all the work. They don't realize because they just can't close. Some people don't want to ask for the money, you know, or don't understand a certain, you know, so.
I would get those guys, those salesmen who they get the customer in, they've signed everything, they've explained everything. They're basically in the middle of signing the documents, and they keep talking.
Yeah, it's cool. Yeah,
the guy already said he's
all
going
you
to
gotta do is ask for the money.
Shut up.
Yeah,
you
absolutely.
can only lose it now. And I've been in the middle of sitting there listening to.
They'll talk their way out the deal.
And in the middle of the thing while the guy's signing, he's like, "Yeah, don't even worry about the prepayment penalty. Like we'll refinance it in like 3 years." And all of a sudden, the customer's like,
"What?
How much is the prepayment penalty?" And I'm thinking, "What did you do? What did you do? He'd already signed it. But yeah, there's some people that they just talk themselves out of deals.
Absolutely, yeah. And you know, it's either from just not knowing or just nervousness or scared to ask for the money. And they always say, like, when you ask for the sale or you give that little close, shut up.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, the first person that actually speaks will lose.
Right.
You know,
I've heard that many times.
Once you get to that point, and I would get, like I said, with those individuals, I had multiple people that would do all the legwork. And now I got like every day, I got hot leads, so to speak, fronted leads, as they called it in the industry. And I was closing them left and right, you know. And I took that little office. I think they were making like maybe $8,000 in a week or whatever, till we were pumping out 30, 40,000 in a week. And it was just 4 or 5 of us, you know. And at the time, I was only getting a commission. I think it was 25%, which sounds good. Hey, if I sell 1,000, I make $250. Which 1,000 is pretty easy. You know what I mean? I make $250. You do 2 or 3 years a day, that's $1,000. That's $5,000, $20,000 a month. So it adds up. Now, at that point in time, the owner, I had to ask him because it was like, now I turned your office into this. And at the same time, I'm watching everything, learning how to do this, learning how to do that. Slowly but surely gathering, because, you know, ultimately, like I said, look, why am I making you rich when I can make myself rich?
Quadrupled your
I
sales.
can do this, you know? So I said, out of fairness, because I'm an extremely loyal guy, like, I don't believe, even though I operate as in sales a certain way, I still have integrity. You still have to, especially with people you're interacting with on a day-to-day basis or people who've helped you out. Hey, it goes both ways. So I said to him, hey, Yusuf, I need to get a raise. I want to present you with, give me, and I actually asked him, hey, give me 45%, I thought it was a great number, yeah. I need that 4 or 5. No, so he molded over, but at the same token, he's making 55%. He doesn't even do nothing. I mean,
right.
Like all you do, because the leads I actually provided, because leads are, people don't understand what leads actually are. Leads are something that could make or break a sales company. You're only as good as the lead you're calling or your person in front of you. Because if you're pitching somebody like that, I don't care how good of a closer, you can't like sell something that the person has no need, it's impossible.
Right.
So you're always as good in that industry, you're always as good as the lead that you're calling. And due to my previous relationships I had with the resorts, I developed, relationships with people who worked in different departments. And they would have owner's database or access to the owner's database, which means I got fresh leads and it doesn't cost these people anything. So I'll go to them. It's like, hey, look, I want 10,000 names, telephone numbers, what they paid, all that stuff. And I'm going to give you 10 cents a name. Well, you just made $1,000.
Are you telling me that you sold these fuckers in 2003? You're selling 40 of these things a month, and then a year later, you're having these people pull all those, and you're calling the same people saying, listen, you've been paying this thing for a year. How many times have you been there? Once? Come on, what are you doing?
Let's get this.
We got to get this off you.
I
can market this for you and get it sold.
The next 90, and look, if I don't sell in this 90 days, don't worry. I want to market it for the lifetime at my expense.
Sweet.
Hey, but look, website. And this is the other crazy thing. I'm now buying the leads for 10 cents. Then I'm selling it to my boss for $1 a name. So I just made 90 cents off every name. So there was a point in time.
Did any of these people ever say, God, you sound familiar?
Yeah. Well, ultimately, listen, when you're a good salesperson, I could change. Hello. I could do multiple personalities. I'm an actor. I'm an artist. That's what I used to tell people, So, yeah, unfortunately or fortunately, I didn't come across that. Hold on. What's his name, though? He sounds like a really good guy.
My buddy, Andrew Levinson, when people would say, I understand, what do you sell? He'd go, peace of mind. And what are you selling? Memories.
Yeah. Well, I used to even get to a point where I say, look, I'm a lifesaver. They're like, what do you mean by that? Well, statistically shown, stress is the number one cause of death. Am I right? They're like, yeah, well, what does vacation do? Relieve stress. I'm saving your life.
Oh, my God.
Hey, Dr. Feelgood.
And slept like a baby at night.
Absolutely.
Me too. I hear you. Yeah, I hear you.
On the 26th floor with 20-foot ceiling windows. So, yeah, I did sleep well. But ultimately, everything comes with a price. So I ended up doing that. Yusuf told me no. Declined me.
He didn't give you a counter offer? Like, I'll give you 30%?
Oh, yeah, he did.
35?
Yeah. He did counter offer it. Okay. But it was something like 30. And look.
That's better than 25.
But I bring too much to the table because the truth was I could do this without him. That's the real truth.
Right.
I didn't want to go out and do it because I would have to do, but I could do it without him.
Right.
So I gave him an opportunity. Hey, let's still make money together.
Were you already planning on going out?
Well, that was the whole thing. Like, if you don't, I'm going to go do this myself. Right. I actually did say that to him.
Right.
And believe it or not, I gave him 2 weeks. So I finished off in 2 weeks.
Okay.
And he gave me his blessing. He actually helped me get my little operation.
Nice.
Yeah. So, like I said, I never want to part, whether relationships with a female or business. I always want to part good terms. Like, I mean, let's be, let's leave on good terms. You know what I mean? Sometimes this doesn't work. It is what it is. But, if you're able to do that, absolutely. So when we left, I went and I took a little time off, to regroup. And at the time, I was still selling leads. I had a little reputation of being able to provide leads. I was making like 10 to 12 grand a month just selling leads, not doing anything, buying these leads here, bringing them there, right? So I had a little reputation for having good leads. Everything I want to do. I want to be like a brand. I want to be the best, want to have the best. You know what I mean? Like where I'm conceited.
Yeah.
But like I want to represent the best, to have the best, be the best, whatever, you know what I mean? Like any real reputable company or brand or anybody, you know, that's how you want to be recognized. So they all knew that I had good leads. So I was making a good living off of doing that. I could have just done that because I would have been out the limelight, still making. But the way my brain works is how can I make more money a lot faster, a lot easier with less work? So I ultimately opened up an office. And what I had to do at that time, I had to secure a merchant. Now, I didn't have the ability to get a merchant.
What does that mean? A merchant account?
Yeah, so a merchant, like, people may not know this, but credit cards such as Visa, MasterCard, Discover, they're all processed through merchants. They're called merchant accounts, small business accounts, small business merchant account, high risk. There's different levels, okay? The industry that I was going into, the timeshare, telemarketing, or just telemarketing, period. Those are considered high risk merchants.
Yeah. They get a lot of, what do they call
Chargebacks.
Chargebacks.
Yeah. And a typical merchant, you get like 1% or 2% chargeback, they're going to shut you down and lock your money up.
Right.
Now, this high risk merchant will let you operate sometimes up to 12 to 17, sometimes a little higher. So it just so happened the individual
12 to 17%.
chargeback.
Okay.
Correct.
So let's let people know what happens is you're processing people's credit cards. Somebody's buying, they're paying whatever $1,000 for the service, or would you say $1,300?
$1,350.
Yeah, they're paying $1,350. But what happens is maybe a week later they suddenly go, you know what?
I don't want this.
I don't want this. Or they talk to some friend, or they talk to their wife, and their wife says, no, that's a scam. All they're going to do is stick it on a website. We can do that ourselves. Oh, okay. And then what they do is they call their Visa and they say, listen, I didn't do this. Or they say,
Correct.
I changed my mind. I got scammed. I don't want, they shouldn't have processed my credit card. And so a chargeback is when Visa then goes to the merchant and says, give us the 13. Our client said he didn't do this or doesn't want to pay this, and they pull the $1,350 back. But the problem is that that's a real problem. So sometimes they hold the money for 60 to 90 days, and they also charge a fee.
Correct.
And you're saying there's a certain percentage that they'll allow it to happen before they shut your account down.
Correct. The merchant that I actually got associated with was a guy who's been in the industry for many years.
Okay.
He ultimately had, let's say, a childhood friend. I don't know the real relationship, but they were very
these companies
close.
will make and break you. Getting the right one.
Absolutely. Like, look, at that point in time, like having a merchant, especially the one I had, is like having the golden ticket with Willy Wonka.
Right.
Like you're that guy. So I ended up meeting this gentleman. He gave me access to processing through his merchant. Now he had a childhood friend. I don't know again like the relationship they had, but this particular guy was on the board of one of those merchant, like there's like 2 or 3 at that time. I don't know what it is now. New Tech, First Data. I'm not sure the exact name, but one of these real large merchant processors. He is on the damn board, and he basically gets kickbacks, millions. Okay, in order to keep your account going, which means like you could run a freaking 75%. We were running a 50% ultimately, which I'll explain, a 50% chargeback ratio. And your merchant never got shut down. Now, mind you, you will take X amount of funds every transaction or every drop, and it goes into like a fund that would basically, if you end up leaving, that money is going to be applied for any chargebacks after you left.
Right.
So they had a little safety net, so on and so forth.
Do they hold them, and they hold those funds for so long?
Yes, they have, depending on the situation, typically 90 days up to 6 months. So it could be a year, depending.
I've known some guys that as your chargeback percentage goes down, they'll reduce the 90. Yeah, they'll reduce the 90. It'll drop to 60, and then it'll be 30. And
correct.
So they'll hold it less and less because you've been in business 3 years.
Shown improve.
You're 3% chargebacks. You're good. That's way below average or something.
Correct.
I don't know what the average is,
but based on that, so I end up getting this access to that particular merchant. So once I secured that, I was like, hey, I'm in the game now. Now, what they did for me is out of 100%, I got paid 67% of whatever I processed through that. So that would be 27, whatever, 67 minus 100, was that 23 or 20? They kept 33.
Okay.
30, yeah, they keep 33%. I keep 67. So that would go to them. Now, the gentleman who gave me access to that account, he kept out of that 33, probably, let's say 12. And the rest went to the merchant. That particular merchant will allow me to process deals. I keep 67%. So I said to myself, wow, I've been doing this on the phones, getting paid 25%. Let's just say I just want to stay at my home and just do this myself.
Right.
I can make 67% of every deal I make. So out of $1,000, I'm making $650 versus $250. So I was like, damn, even if I do this by myself, don't even have to have an office. I'll make a killing.
Right.
I had the leads. I provided the leads, so on and so forth. So I was like, there's no way this is not going to work. Not only that, I started to use creative visualization and envisioning the process of how I was like, man, every scenario I see, I'm winning. There's no way it can't win. So I started very humble. I went and opened up an office that was like an old motel room. It's now a business center, so it wasn't like a hotel, but it's a business center. And I went and got a little desk from Office Max. I was very humble. I had 4 on this side, 4 on this side. No, 4 on this side, 3 on this side. Then I had a computer workstation with a fax and scanner and things like that, whatever. So now I had to make this thing work. So at the time, I hired my girlfriend, and I had one other gentleman. I had one other guy who was kind of with me through a process. And then I called one of my buddies. He was one of my managers when I worked in telemarketing. And I'm like, hey, look, I just got my own company. I can pay you this much. I know you're going to make it. And he's like, oh, I've actually been having some experience in timeshare resale. I'm in between jobs. I'll come work. I was like, perfect. So here we are. I got my leads. I got my merchant. Let's go to work. So we went and opened up. Mind you, my girlfriend was customer service as well as a sales rep. Okay. So the very first week, we did $8,000. Out of the $8,000, 67%, obviously I keep, that's what we processed.
Yeah.
67% is mine. Then I obviously had to pay my reps. I was very generous. I started everyone off 25 to 30 if you hit a certain number. So the rest is mine. Mm-hmm. But majority of that 8,000, I wrote myself.
Are they subject to the callbacks?
Yes.
If their customers
chargebacks,
2 weeks later they get a chargeback, you're taking them. I'm taking it.
If you're working for my office, let's say a month later, you get a chargeback. Yeah, I got to take that. I mean,
because some of these guys will say anything if they're not
absolutely,
suspect. If they're not
held accountable or had to pay the chargeback.
I'm saying suspect if they're not subject. If they weren't subject to the chargeback,
and be responsible for it.
They would say anything.
Absolutely. Okay. Yeah, I think anybody would,
Yeah.
So we actually developed a little system that actually helped prevent chargebacks. So what it was, we won live taped verification, a third party. They didn't even come through me, it was another company. Mm-hmm. Okay, time dated, stamped, as well as signed contracts. I think that was a majority of the main things. And what we did is when they tried to dispute that with a credit card company, we're like, hey, hello, they're on recording. And you ask specific questions to ensure that they cannot say, I didn't know.
That.
No, yeah, I didn't. Yeah. So you make it real clear, not a record, and they got a signed contract. Like, how are you dispute the chargeback? And majority of the time you're winning.
Yeah.
Now, what ultimately happened, I was making good money doing that. Honest. Hey, look, selling advertising and marketing. Now, you might have stretched things a little, but you stayed legal. You know what I mean?
Right.
I think every salesman goes that gray area a little. They have a saying in timeshare, no heat, no eat.
Right.
You got to put food on the table, So I ultimately, the way my brain works, is sometimes I think like, why the hell do I think this way? But, it can be a gift and a curse because, like I said, I think outside the box, So one day I'm sitting at home on a Sunday afternoon and it just popped in my head. And I started to get on the laptop and I started writing. I wrote this thing called The Heat. Because, like I said, no heat, no eat. And ultimately what happened was, and I didn't think I was doing it at the time, but I literally was like, I created a script of pure heat that's like straight fraud.
Right.
Now, ultimately, I didn't know that was happening. Like, I just saw and found a way. Oh, we could make a lot more money, a lot more easier. But yeah, so what we were basically doing, I took a process that would take sometimes days to doing a 3-call close.
Right.
Like 3 calls, I'm closing you. I'm getting your credit card today. Same kind of concept TIMESHARE at the resorts does. This is not a beat back. No, I want your money today, So what I did, first call, introduction. And you kind of warm up. And basically what we're doing is, hey, John, Mary. And again, I already know, got the information right in front of me, You don't always like, no, hey, John, Mary, I see that you guys are trying to sell your timeshare. I know you have a Westgate, 2-bedroom, 2-bath. I see you have it listed for $13,000. They're like, yeah. I say, well, look, I might have a buyer for it. If so, would you be interested in selling it? They, yeah. I say, look, hold one second.
There is no buyer, by the way. There's no buyer.
I've not seen one in my whole entire life, honestly. But I always have a buyer,
Right.
Which is straight crazy. So I'm going to contact them real quick.
You did say might. I might have a bite.
I might. You never know, because like I said,
somebody could call in.
You never know.
Well, it could happen.
I mean, anything can happen.
Yeah.
So I say, I'll call you back if they're still interested. So I play for a couple of seconds. And I do a first intro to another lead. By the time I'm done with that, I call the first one back. Hey, listen, just got on the phone with Steve. Believe it or not, he's willing to pay you $13,700. Would you accept? Oh yeah, absolutely. I'll say, look, let's not get ahead of ourselves. Okay, so first things first, I gotta see if I can get you approved financing. Get Steve approved financing. Now again, I don't know how long this may take because there's a lot of other people could take up to an hour, so on and so forth. But what we'll do is we'll get them approved for financing. I'm going to have them sign financing documentation. I'm just going to lock them into the deal for the purchase of your unit. Mm-hmm. So this is locked in. Now, typically, like I said, I don't normally do this. I usually do it backwards, but I'm going to do this. Now this process could take about 45 minutes, depending on how long it takes to go through financing. Okay, so but when I call back with them locked into the financing, we're going to need you to proceed with the payment. Like I said, I'm not going to go through all this. So you basically lock them in. So third call is getting that credit card. So obviously I'll work on the second deal and a third deal, and then I'll go all the way back to the front. Right. Now I'm on a third call for the very first person I called. Hey, John, congratulations. You've just sold your property. Steve got approved for financing, you know what I mean? So you go through the process and we're locked in. Now, keep in mind, this is where it's kind of where the thing kind of keeps them, because the merchants actually want to hold your amount for 90 days. Remember the chargeback situation? So I say to John, hey, John, look, now closing is going to take about 90 days.
Right.
You know what I mean? But during those 90 days, there's going to be documentation I'm going to send you, new sign back, so on and so forth. So you prepare them like, hey, look, you're not going to get your check for like 90 days. So they're not going to expect it in 1 week, 2 weeks, you know what I mean? You're preparing them. Because in addition to creating the heat script, I also had to create a customer service script that went along with that so you can keep the money. That's the whole objective, not to just make it and have to pay it back.
Right.
So I had to come up with a customer service script that coincided with the heat script. And with the two, it's literally, as I'll explain to you, it transformed the whole thing. So I tell them, hey, John, look, you're not going to be able to, property's not going to close for another 90 days. But during that 90 days, I'm going to give you updates and let you know exactly how everything's going. That's why you can have other documentation, which you're going to need to sign. We need those notarized. I mean, you make them feel important, like doing these little things. Like, I don't know if it's notarized. I'm not showing it to anybody, actually. So, but he feels important by getting it notarized. So it makes
he's got more invested in it.
Yeah,
so the more he invests
more he
in
does, the more, absolutely. So now I got to get the credit card. So which credit card? Which credit card do you want to put that on? I'm not going to ask him. Do you want to know which credit card?
Yeah, you assume the sale.
Absolutely. And he gives you the credit card. Write all the information. Now this is the key.
Does Steve not get financed?
No, this is the key. So remember that third party verification thing? So I still got to get him through that.
Yeah.
So look, John, I'm just going to be upfront with you. Normally, what we would do is we would advertise this property. Okay, you would have to pay me $13.50 up front. I'm going to put it on my website. I'm going to go to presentation trying to sell it.
Yeah.
But honestly, that just takes too much time. So what I do, I work on them backwards. I find the buyer first, get them approved for the financing, get them locked in, and then I ask you for your money to pay for listing. But my company would rather me do it differently. Take your money up front, list it, and find a buyer.
Yeah.
But what does that do? This makes you wait. This. So look, I do it backwards. Yeah. So I'm going to have you go through a tape verification. What I need you to do is that they're going to ask you specific questions. One, were you promised a buyer? I'm going to need you to tell them no. You straight up tell them. And the reason why is because if I don't, then this sale is not going to go in place. Because if otherwise, we have to do it the other way.
Yeah.
But like I said, you want to get paid, right? You want to sell. This is how we do it. So they follow you could tell them whatever.
Yeah. I was thinking you could always say, listen, I already have the buyer. Typically we list your stuff first. The problem is we didn't do that. I skipped it. My manager's irritated. He's like, okay, well, this guy's supposed to pay us $1,350. You're just handing him off onto a buyer. We have to put it on the website. That's our process.
Correct.
So call the guy up, have him go through the process, list it, go ahead with the sale. And then once he did all that, then so many days later, when he's expecting the sale, I'd be like, fucking not gonna believe this. This guy did not get financed. No, he changed jobs. I'm trying to work with the loan officer. I just can't. I don't know who changes jobs just before sale. But anyway, that's what he did. They called his job. He didn't work there anymore. He got a new job. They're gonna have to call that. Give me a couple more weeks. Just drag it out before you just falls.
Hey, look, you hold the carrot for the donkey.
Right. And then it's too late for him to even go and try and dispute
it.
The
So way past that time.
Yeah.
Not only that, you still got them on tape verification. Yeah. Agreed. So
all of which is wrong, and I feel bad about. I feel bad.
I do. We do.
Even thinking along these lines, it makes me feel, horrible.
I want to cry.
I know. So.
So we did this.
This comment section is going to be horrible, bro. They're just going to tear us apart.
Most of the people were old too. You'll be good.
Oh
No! I didn't hear. I didn't.
Old though.
Look,
people were old.
you shouldn't have brought him. He's not helping you at all.
He's giving away too much gas. You know
It's trouble because a lot of the people were older. You were good at it. He just made a whole new script right there.
Remember the guy we had that did something?
I mean, if we're still doing it, I'm not doing it.
And they did the game show.
Oh yeah. Oh, we had a guy who literally after he got out of prison, right?
He went to prison.
What?
He did something kind of similar, right?
Yeah. After he got out of prison, he got contacted by
Inside Edition.
But
they weren't saying they were Inside Edition.
Yeah, they said it was a game show, and they like fly him in, bring him on a game show, and it's and they do a whole thing, and he realizes once he's on the game show that he's there because he ripped off a bunch of people. And
shit.
And they have several of his victims like in the crowd.
They're like old little ladies, and they're like, "Where's my $5,000?"
Oh my gosh, that's crazy.
He stood up, bolted.
Wow.
And they're chasing him.
I would love
trying
to
get
see
him.
that. Yeah.
Fuck
Well,
that.
that's why. Look, I had multiple aliens. Chris Jackson. I mean, I can say this now because the feds posted it on their fraud site. I have Chris Jackson and Steve Williams. I had so many different names.
It's so funny. I had a buddy who did. Do you know what? What am I thinking? Hold on. Business opportunity scams are, or business opportunity. It's kind of the same. You're selling a business.
Okay.
And it's like a vending machine business where you buy 3 vending machines, or let's say you buy 5 vending machines for $50,000, and you have to place them, but it's up to you to place them somewhere. And so you place them, and he could convince you they're going to make so much money, and they never make that kind of money. But what's so funny is this guy, when I first met him, he would tell me, he went to trial, he's not guilty, he's this, he's that. And then as you spend time with someone through your term of imprisonment, he, the little things start to come out.
It starts to trickle out. Yeah,
right.
yeah.
And I remember at one point he was like, and the guy said, Mr. Kennedy, I don't understand. I was like, what? And the guy's last name's Levinson. And I went, Kennedy? He's like, what? Yeah, I use the name Andrew Kennedy. So, and I'm like, ooh, that doesn't
Red
sound
flags,
legit.
dude. Yeah.
Your whole, I was a legit businessman.
Yeah.
I've been framed.
Oh, for sure. Listen, everybody was innocent during my stay. At least 98% of them. I'm not going to say everybody, but like there are some innocent ones. I'm not going to say they're not, but everybody. I didn't know I was innocent. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I love the owners who are like, I didn't know what these people were saying on the phone.
Oh, for sure.
I didn't.
Yeah.
But then they all got on and then can you believe it? 4 of these guys got on the stand and said that I'm the one that told them. Yeah. And then they're like, yeah, I know, but the scripts that you wrote said, I didn't write that script. Like,
listen, that's actually a real life situation with my co-defendant.
Right.
His cousin actually legitimately did that to him.
I hear you.
I have no idea what they were doing. Absolutely not. But yes, that's a real deal situation. So now we went with the heat script from doing, I had at that point in time, my office, I had one office. Like I said, it was a humble little office, 4 or 5 people in there. I started to overnight, we're like making boatloads. We went from doing like 8 to 10 grand a week to doing 35, 40 a week. And now it's like, I'm calling my friends and I'm like, hey, look, what are you doing for work right now? Quit your job.
Right.
Come over here and I'm going to literally make you life-changing money. Not the kind of money that's, oh, I'll buy you some new shoes, this. No, I'm going to change your life. I'm going to hand you the keys to the kingdom. So now I got individuals with well-paying jobs. They're quitting. Well, first they come over to test it.
Yeah.
You know, and they see it. And
They only have to talk to 1 or 2 people working there to be like, okay, yeah.
overnight, you see at that time, again, we're in a inexpensive office location, you know. We had to move. I ultimately had to move, one, to expand. And I ended up getting a location. My first office was in a brand new building. And I had the whole upstairs part of it, 3rd floor, wood grain, marble. I mean, it was decked out to the T. We were the very first tenants in it. My office, obviously, the corner office, where it's actually one way in, one way out. So I could see everybody coming in and coming out. And we were the only individuals at that time in the building. And as you can see, everyone's got Mercedes, Dodge Vipers. I mean, just tricked out. It's like a car show just in the parking lot. So again, coming in there for new potential individuals, hey, I want to hire you. You know, you want to come work with me. You're going to see like everybody here, and I want you to have the nice cars. I want you to have the Rolex, the Breitlings. I want you to wear those, because like in sales, especially on phone sales, if you look good, you're going to feel good. If you feel good, you're going to sound good. If you sound good, you're going to make me money. Now, not just me, because it's not about me. I am only successful if you're successful. You ain't making money, I ain't making money. So I'm going to provide you with all the tools, all the resources, everything that I'm capable of doing to improve your chances of being successful. And I understood the dynamics, the psychology, the whole energy of sales and that stuff. So I would also employ good-looking females. No, not like strippers or anything like that. I mean, just good quality, good-looking people. Because as the males, all as alphas, every salesman, it's all about ego, you know?
Right.
So I did that strategically because I want them to show off, you know, get that deal. And the more you get that deal, and you know, the more she, like, you know, so it's just a whole cycle of energy, you know?
Plus, it makes those guys want to come to work, too.
Absolutely.
Everybody wants to come to work. They're all good looking. They're flirting. There's lots of...
You know, and there's money to be made. Everybody's happy. Now, it is unfortunate in this industry doing that kind of pitch. It takes a certain individual. I would say about 60% of the individuals that worked in my office partied. And I say that in the aspect of weekend warriors, you know. And I'll be honest, man, I didn't care what the hell you did. I really didn't.
Right.
Fucking, as long as you come here and go to work and make that money, like whatever you do in your free time, that's your time. But between this hour and this hour, you know, you're not mine, but you're here to do a job.
Right.
So ultimately, we literally transformed and went from 30 to 40 to doing $100,000+ a week. And I'm not even like lying or exaggerating. It got to a point where I was making literally $120,000, $130,000 every freaking week. I started to get so much money that and trust me when I say this, I tried to spend it all. Right. Yeah, you could buy big ticket shit, you know what I mean? Stuff like that. But you know, everyday things, it's really hard and difficult to spend. Every week you're getting that. Every week. And this went on for...
How many people are working for you at this time?
Okay, so yeah, ultimately at that time, it grew from, I had 5, we went to 25, and then I also expanded. I had 3 offices. Now, there were levels to the office. Now, everybody wanted to work at the main office. That's where I provided the best leads. That's where the best closers, the best environment. Then you had another office, which is kind of mediocre. Then I had my farming office. And these are the people that want to be there, but they just don't have the ability, so I put them there, let them train and so on and so forth. They're making money. I don't give them my best leads because leads became very valuable, you know? And you don't want someone burning a lead, you know? Were they burning a lead where it could have been a deal? So I had 3 offices at a time. Ultimately, I literally, at one point in time, I had about 140 employees, 130 employees, 40 people per office. I had secretaries, I've had assistants, I had a CPA working directly. I even had an attorney at the office. And he basically, because this is what will happen. You got a sales rep, they get paid Friday, they go fuck off on Friday night. Next thing you know, something I was stoned. Next thing they're in jail Sunday. I need you back to work Monday.
Right.
So I would hire an attorney. Obviously, I would place the attorney. He would have to hire him. I would pay him, and I'd just take it out of his check.
Right.
And like, I need you on those fucking phones. You know what I mean? So you're no good to me sitting in jail for you or me. So, I would ensure that would happen to make sure that they're back in the office. They love me for it, because like I was looking out for their best interests as well as mine, obviously.
Is there ever a point where like the authorities come in, you start, because you're regulated by who?
Yes. So this is where it actually gets, see, when you start to get that big.
And I have a question real quick. At this point, are you aware that it's fraudulent, or are you like, this is kind of sketchy,
Definitely,
what are you
absolutely.
thinking? Yeah.
At this point in time, we have grown so fast and we're making so much money. I would be lying if I said, I didn't really know. I knew exactly what was going on. But
Right.
the thing is, you're so many arm lengths away from it. Again,
You feel like you have deniability?
not just denying, but it's like I don't really deal with the people complaining. And so it's just like, I'm just so many different ways away. So it doesn't really, because honestly, I do have a soul. And I do feel I'm not like a malicious, like scumbag. You know what I'm saying? I mean, like,
It doesn't sound like it at all.
no. Great guy. Should I introduce you to my daughter? She's a great girl. I'm a great guy. Yeah, that sounds like a salesman tell you right now, trying to convince he's a great guy. No, but like you're kind of like, I'm just so many levels away from the direct contact with the client.
Right.
It just starts to not really feel as bad. If you're directly, I say customer service, hearing these people complain, I didn't pay it, you know what I mean? So it's just one of those things that you're so far away, you don't really hear the direct complaints.
Yeah.
And the fucking money was good.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I was able to bend some of my moral values in regards to the lifestyle I was living. And not only that, like I improved and employed people who are making now 100, 200 grand a year. I'm going to give you an example. Like I would do my training class. Okay. And I didn't train people. I would come in to make my presence known, and I would literally go in there. And at one point in time, I purchased a Lamborghini, $100,000 Mercedes. I lived in the View, 26th floor on that one that had a 2-bedroom. I mean, like I was buying things hand over foot. So I would come in there, slide the keys on the table while everyone's in there. And everyone looks at this Lamborghini key, Mercedes, a different car, different time, different trade class. Boiler room.
Boiler room. The boiler
Ben
room.
Affleck.
Yeah.
I literally learned that from Ben Affleck and Boiler Room. Literally.
Did you ever see that movie? It's
Hey.
a boiler. He slides his fucking.
Giovanni Risby's in it. Yeah, he slides his Ferrari
Jesus.
or something.
That's my. How do you know I know what I'm fucking doing? Boom. Those are my Ferrari keys.
Absolutely. Listen, I
Something like
learned
that.
it just from that. And I did that same exact thing, literally. And like I said, if you're not here to fucking buy, you're in the wrong fucking place because
Right.
we're here to make money and that's it. Every chair is required to produce this amount.
Right.
I don't care if you did it first day, second day, I don't give a fuck. End of the week, I need to add up like that. That's just what it is. That's the bottom line. This is where I'm in this to make money. You're in this to make money. Let's not act like we're fucking selling Girl Scout cookies.
Right.
So it got to a level, we're making so much noise. I mean, you're making money. Now, mind you, the telemarketing industry, I believe in the state of Florida in total was regulated by the Department of Agriculture.
I always think that's funny.
Which is the weirdest shit, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Department of Agriculture regulates telemarketing. Like, what the fuck? But yes. So it got to a point where they really got wind of this shit. Like, you're now doing so much business and a lot of it's bad business. So these people are starting to complain. So they're now getting all these complaints. So at first they're kind of like, whatever. But now they're getting so much, they can't fucking ignore the shit. They got to like, okay, hold on. What's actually going on? They're in Tallahassee, mind you.
Yeah.
What the hell's going on in Orlando where all these people are, you know what I mean? So my very first visit, I'm not even sure if I can tell the inspector's name, but let's just call her Sasha.
Okay.
for some reason, everyone in the industry knew Sasha.
Okay.
Everybody, and it's a small circle with us in the timeshare resale industry. So everyone knew Sasha. So we got wind, hey, Sasha's in town. The AGs are in town. So I literally would tell everybody, hey, listen, we're closed for today. Go home. Fuck it. We're not at the office. You'll show up to the office and ain't nobody there. That happened a couple of times, like cat and mouse shit. They like, no, when they're getting these complaints, but there's no office, nobody here. It's empty. So ultimately, one time I got approached by them. They caught us at the office. Somehow they slipped through the cracks. They did their job a little better. So I ended up getting fined for the very first offense. And believe it or not, it's called operating. And now, because they couldn't technically see that I was doing fraud, because they're in their eyes, if you have everything done, such as all the reps are employed, your business license are hung, everything's up to code and regulations. They can't go any further than that unless they have probable cause to go further. They can't. So if you're up to code, that's it.
Aren't the complaints probable cause? Or?
Well, that probable cause to get them to the office.
Okay.
So that's why they're there. Now, to go any further, like technically, if you're doing something usually illegal in their eyes.
Okay, so they have to get there and find out you don't have your license, or find out you aren't signing these, you aren't disclosing correctly.
Yeah,
so now we're going to take it. We can now go in and do this.
Correct. So,
but you always stopped them at that point.
What ultimately happened, she came the first time. I had everyone licensed, but like 2 people. I didn't really realize how severe it was because it ain't shit. Some of these people come, some of them go. So I didn't think of it. But I didn't have it. So I ultimately got fined. It was like $30,000. Drop it in a bucket. Bam.
Right.
Look, goodbye, Sasha. Leave me alone. So now I understood the importance of licensing your reps, having things displayed, business license here, script here. I seen and understood the importance of it. So every time someone came in, I gave them a license immediately. You know, I don't care if you're a fucking janitor, you need a license. You know what I mean? Because anything further than that, you now can be subjected to a more investigate, you know, just whatever the case was. Now, at this point in time, you know, I'm making so much money, and I'm talking about, please understand, I'm a very humble guy. I'm not boosting or bragging. I really am not. It just really was like that. Now, I'm literally flying private jets. Mind you, it's actually cheaper than I actually realized. You know, my operation was running, you know, and I got to tell you, I had a great staff. Like, I got to give my staff credit. I had great management, great assistant. Customer service was phenomenal, you know. So I didn't have to be there every day. And mind you, the more money I make, you know, the more freedom I had to do whatever guilty pleasure I had. So, you know, I would bounce out and I would go for a couple of days, vacationing here, partying here. So it would get to a point ultimately that, you know, you're in the office gossip. So I remember at one point in time, my name was talked about in the office, and I'm like, what the fuck? Like, I took everybody off the phone. Like, listen, I took everybody got the phone, everybody off. And I said, listen, I don't pay you to worry about what the fuck Gunnar's doing. I pay you from this time to this time to make money. I say, the only thing you need to worry about is who write the fucking check. Your check's cash every week, am I right? So don't worry about what Gunnar's doing. I said, you have an opportunity to make more money than doctors, lawyers, attorneys, or I mean, whatever are making. They got to go to school for 8 to 10 years. And literally, they don't have as much stress. They have way more stress than you. You come in from this time and leave at 7 o'clock at night. You're making $200,000 a year. You know what I mean? Like, fucking don't worry about what I'm doing with my money. You know what I mean? Just go to work, do your job. You know, and it would get to that point, and I would have to like whip everyone back in check. Like, hey, get focused.
At what point does an actual criminal investigation get started?
Got you.
And when do you figure that out?
At this point in time, I worked for this individual, and way this thing works is it's literally like a Ponzi scheme. You know, you got to keep writing to deal with the chargebacks, because ultimately these merchants got a little hip, as well as these credit card companies. So these chargebacks started to hit. It got to a point where we started to have more chargebacks than business ran, and I was paying payroll out of my pocket. Now, I generally care about everybody that works for me. I really do. And that's why I had loyal employees, because that industry got to a point, it was so shady. It was literally like the wild, wild west. So I was paying so much out of my pocket, and I did this for 3 weeks. Then I got to a point, I was like, shit, this is not sustainable. I'm not going to keep, like, I mean, I made this money. I'm not going to give my money back. So I left. I was like, hey, look, I made enough money. I could live for 3 years and not do anything, travel. I got enough in my bank, everything.
But do you realize, has an investigation started, or this is just the chargebacks?
Well,
and you're
this
just ready to bolt.
It was just the chargebacks. But now this industry has gained traction.
Right.
I share with people, it's like the gold rush of Central Florida. Fucking, these guys are making millions of dollars now.
Right.
Fuck, I want to get into that, you know? So, and they realize how literally easy it is to do. It's cookie cutter. My script or my pitch, and again, I'm not sitting here telling you, oh, I'm the owner of it, but I legitimately created this, different versions started to spread. The same concept, promising a buyer, da, da, da. There were multiple people making millions of dollars. And I'm talking millions of dollars. It was kind of fucked up because, like, one weekend after Friday, I went in there, I paid a company, they cleaned all the office house, took everything out, put it all in storage. My employees came to work on Monday and it wasn't shit in there. Doors were locked, everything. I wasn't answering my phone, fucking, I didn't even want to deal with it. Like an ostrich stuck his head in the sand, like fucking just. And I lived in a high rise that had security. Like, I lived in a building that JJ Redick lived in. He was my neighbor. Fucking, like, basketball, NBA players lived in my building. I mean,
right.
You had to have.
You're not walking in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You cannot get through there without going through security. So I just camped out in my condo for the first week. And mind you, this is around Christmas time. So again, my cost of living, I was still living like I'm making those $100,000 weeks, spending money, and then by January, middle of January, I'm like, holy shit. You know what I mean? Like, this is not 3 years. You know what I mean? I thought I had enough money to live. That's definitely not 3 years worth of living like this. I get a random phone call from this individual, Rich Mendez. And he says, hey, Gunnar, you want to open up an office again? I heard this and that stuff. I got a merchant. And I'm thinking, like, fuck, you know what's crazy? Like, yeah, I was just thinking, like, I need to get back, making some money. I said, yeah, I could definitely do that. He says to me, all right. Can you do $100,000 weeks? I said, give me 60 days. I could do $100,000 weeks. He said, all right, bet. Let me know to meet up with me. So I met up with him. Within a week's time, I had an office outfitted with 35, 40 people, everything running and gunning. We're moving and grooving. Now, I understand that this industry needs licenses for your employees. Now, I'm going to say this truth. This cocksucker, I kept telling him, hey, I need a license. And he, no, I got you. Just spinning me. And look, game recognizes game. And people already, look, there is always going to be people envious, jealous, whatever the case is. And it's like, look, I'm not doing anything you can't do, Don't hate me. Do it yourself, you know? I get up in the morning, I work, and I don't stop till, I achieve what it is I plan to do. So at this point in time, in Orlando, it was literally well known. I was known, and the reputation of what it is I was doing was out and about, I had at a point in time an orange Lamborghini, and it was Gallardo. And I remember one morning, I had an employee that worked for me and for some reason decided to steal my checks from my little checkbook. So actually, this is what happened. It was a Friday. Everyone gets paid. I purchased the car the day before. And mind you, when I went to go buy the car, I pulled up to it was in Orlando off I-4, the Ferrari dealership that sold the Lamborghini. And it wasn't like a tricked out V10 type one. It was the basic one, 120, 130,000. Oh, no, 106,000, 106. So I go into the dealership, and I remember approaching the salesman, and this is one of the things I always say: never judge a book by its cover. No prejudging in sales, because you never know who's going to buy.
Right.
So I walk into the dealership, and I go ask the guy, and the guy like snubbed me. Oh, that's $100,000 car. I'm like, what? Like literally treat me like I was like, okay. So my girl, I called her on the phone. Hey, pull up, because I needed my so on so our cash. So she pulls up in the front. I go to the car, and he sees the car. I drove in. It was a CLS 63, and I had like 12,000 miles when I bought it. So brand new. You know, he understood. He's a car dealer. You know,
What is that?
a Mercedes-Benz CLS
Okay.
63. At that time, it was a $100,000 Mercedes-Benz, and it had the souped-up V10 engine, whatever, twin turbo. But he sees the car that I go to get that. Oh, you're driving that car? Yeah. Now he wants to help me.
Yeah.
And I literally found the guy doing absolutely, look, you know, and I bought the car, cashed out, boom, boom, drove off. At this time, I happened to have a ankle monitor, which is a whole nother story. This was a little dispute with my girlfriend, and I got in trouble for it. Ended up dropping it. But I remember purchasing the car on a Friday. Friday night, I had to be in the house at 7. I let her take it out. I called my friend, hey, look, my girlfriend's going to come there. I just bought a Lamborghini. He goes, yeah, we'll park it in the front. It looks really good. He owned the club, whatever. So the next morning, I'm allowed to leave the house at 7 to 7 in the evening. So I go jump in my Lamborghini, first day driving on the highway and I get a phone call. I'm on I-4. No, I'm on the turnpike, gunning it because I wanted to stretch it. And I get a phone call from the bank. Bank of America says, hey, yeah, you got an employee here trying to cash a check, and the name doesn't really recognize. They had your signature on file. Now I was thinking, like, shit, I remember rushing because I wanted to go buy the car. So I was like, yeah. So I said, how much is it for? She goes, it was $7,500. Okay, check.
It's an average check.
Yeah,
Right.
yes. I thought, okay. She goes, what was the name? And she said, I'm not gonna say the person's name.
Yeah.
It was the person's name. I'm like, hold up, what? That's a secretary. They don't make. I said, hold. I'll be right there. So I fly over there, and mind you, that person fled the scene. I get out the car. It's a police officer, and he says to me, like, Dean, look at that car you drive. I need to come work for you. I'm like, shit, no, you don't.
Right.
Hell no, you don't. But yeah, I'm in sales. He's okay. So I go inside, and I see he's trying to cash 3 of them. Like, not just 1, but 3. Mind you, this individual, this is how, like, good of a guy I was. She couldn't do the job. So, hey, look, I need to find a different position. She says, no. I said, well, it's my company. You either go to this position or you just quit. You know what I'm saying? She goes, no. Try to tell me. I said, well, look, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to pay you for the rest of the month. Your salary, I'm going to give you the rest of the month. Matter of fact, and then I knew her kid had a birthday, so I gave her money for the birthday. I took care of these like, my extended family, so on and so forth. So I called her up like, yo, why would you do that? Like, if you needed money, I would have gave it to you. And then she starts selling me out. Oh, you're just stealing from people and you just want to do this to buy your girl a new purse. I was like, what the fuck? Like, what does this got to do with anything? Like, you knew what we were doing. Yeah, envious. So ultimately, she's selling me out. I'm like, yo, dude, stop it. So I was like, and this was the worst. This is actually the catalyst that started my downfall, I guess you could say, or the investigation. So I tell her, okay, and I hang up. So they said, hey, do you want to prosecute? Said,
Absolutely.
Absolutely. If she would have been on board, I would have, but she's selling me
Yeah.
out. But that one thing, revenge on me for doing that. Now, I paid her bond before she went in. I just wanted her to sit her ass down for 8 hours.
Right.
You know what I mean? I understand, look, I'm the fucking boss. You know what I mean? But I let my ego get to me. You know what I mean? I should have just, whatever. You know what I mean? Just let it go away. Your life is too good. Or it was going too good. So I prosecutor, just press charges, not prosecute, press charges. That's the difference. Press charges, paid the bondsman before she got there. She went in there, she was released. But she fucking declared war on me, dude. Literally contact the AG. I'm talking, she had the inside scoop on everything. So now they had a real file on me. So I was now working for this gentleman, Rich Mendez, unbeknownst that I had this file or this investigation going. So I kept saying, hey, now we're a month into working, and I'm producing less than 60. I'm doing $100,000. We're doing 120s. I mean, we're killing it. I said, hey, look, I need to get my employees licensed. Like, what the fuck? And he just keeps spinning me. Now, what I would always do is I'm always moving. So the office that I was in, I would just do laps around it, just kind of get exercise, just walking on my phone, handling business, doing whatever it is I'm doing. Mm-hmm. So I kept telling this dude, I need to get licensed. Sure enough, one day I'm walking around and fucking the squad runs in there. Like, mind you, these guys got guns. They're acting like we're damn terrorists or some shit. Mm-hmm. Like, it's fucking telephones. You know what I mean? They had guns and all this shit. I'm like, they're looking for me, but I'm walking around the building just doing laps, and I see all this shit going on. And I'm like, oh shit. And I go straight to my, now I had a very recognizable car, Mercedes, and I'm pretty sure they did their homework and, were watching before they came in. So I go immediately to my car. Matter of fact, they met me there. I was like, hey, look, I'm just getting my fucking attorney's card. So, I was actually about to dip out. But they caught me at the car. They bring me upstairs and they go through all this and that stuff. And sure enough, like I said, my employees weren't licensed. So this was my second offense. And would you believe operating a telemarketing room without a license is a felony?
Yeah.
What the fuck? It's like, what do you mean? Okay, look, misdemeanor? Yeah, great. I get a felony. So I got arrested. I mean, that's when I was getting arrested. So mind you, I wasn't handcuffs or anything, but they kept me in my office. So I ordered everybody pizza and whatever food I offered for everybody, all the officers and whatnot. And Mr. Mendez sent his attorney over there, and the motherfucker who acted like threw me under the bus. Like I did something wrong, and I fucking.
Are you telling me that this guy hired unlicensed telemarketers?
Yeah, we told him to get literally fucking through, and they almost.
Gunnar, what are you doing?
Yeah, they had to restrain me. I wanted to choke the shit out of this motherfucker, but I was like, they didn't realize what just happened. Like they literally set me up for being a fall guy. So I know I was going to jail, so I called my bondsman. Had it already set up, so as soon as I hit there, I popped a couple Xanax bars so that way I could sleep when I get there. I go to jail, post bond, and then I realize now this individual not only threw me on the bus, I had like another 80 grand coming to do payroll, didn't pay me that, and basically kind of like just like cut me off, as in like I was the cancer, and And again, it's a shady game. I knew what I was doing. I knew the kind of individual I was working with. But yeah, that's what ended up happening. So now I am legitimately like the face of timeshare resale in fucking Orlando. Mm-hmm. They got a full investigation going on me. I ended up getting those charges dropped. I went in front of the judge with an attorney, and I'm like, hello, Your Honor. I went and got everyone licensed. Just paid and got them licensed. Right. So we brought it to they dropped it. You know what I mean? She said it's just a clerical error, so on and so forth, so that the charges got dropped.
Okay.
But the fucking floodgate of full-on investigation, I got dubbed the timeshare resale king, which is a really bad name. But they're a full-blown, now they're on me. But that wasn't going to stop me, Now I had to be incognito. I started getting offices like you would never suspect there's an office at.
Right.
All of a sudden, these fly-ass cars are hanging out in front of this, like, place that looks like it's a rundown, you know what I mean? But it's tricked out on the inside for everybody. And ultimately, they're literally scouring Orlando for me. They end up somehow randomly popping up at one of my other offices. Now, mind you, I'm a little smarter now, so I don't put nothing in my name. I don't even work in the office. I'm an advisor. Right. It's under these people's names, so on and so forth. But they understand it's my show. So it was literally like this catch me if you can type shit with this one lead investigator. And this dude had a hard on for me, bro. And I did not get it. Like, did I steal from your family or some shit? Like, why are you so...
You're continuing to open up.
Yeah, I was kind of like, hey, fuck yeah, it was like that. Yeah, right. Yeah, I did kind of snub them. But, that was just kind of like, you have a job, I got a job,
Yeah. That's how I felt. Like you chase me and I run. Like that's
It's just simple.
Yeah,
Exactly.
You investigate.
Yeah.
I commit fraud.
My
You
job's to beat
investigate.
you. Your job's to beat me.
Right.
It's just that simple. You know what I mean? Play your role. I'll play mine.
Yeah.
So now they actually caught up to me one time, and like I said, everybody was licensed. Turned out one person wasn't licensed, but it wasn't that they didn't apply for it. Is that they got denied, and it wasn't informed to us.
Right.
So it was just a small fine. I obviously took care of it, so on and so forth. But now this dude is like, I would show up to Starbucks, and he's sitting there with his fucking cowboy hat on, and like, don't worry, Gunnar, I'm gonna get you. So all right, good luck, you know. And it just came a cat and mouse type shit. Ultimately, it got to a point. This thing just took a whole life of its own. They're like on me like white on rice, so I couldn't even be around an office. I would sublease offices and put it, you know, and just collect. I would make sure I collect the money. I'm like a 7-Eleven collecting tens of thousands of dollars for business done. It just got insane. Like, I don't even think anybody else had that kind of heat because of what it basically started with that one situation of having her go to jail. So at this point in time, I don't know if it was FBI. They did a simultaneous raid on not only my office, Rich Mendez, and another individual. I'm going to leave his name out. So now it's just, and they have their operation. He has his operation. It's like a big thing. And these dudes are like, the one office that they raided, I mean, they're like coming in there like literally SWAT team. They took a tank type shit into the damn door, pulled it off. It's this insane. You see, I saw the first one on the news.
You ever read a headline and think, wait, that's not what I read earlier? Or hear a story that was covered two totally different ways and think, I wonder which one's telling the truth. We all know the news can be biased. Algorithms push stories that they think you want to see, and some outlets spin stories to fit a certain agenda. It's exhausting trying to figure out what's real, what's exaggerated, and what's just straight up misinformation. That's why I use Ground News. It's a news platform that doesn't just show you the headlines, it shows you the whole story. It gathers articles from across the political spectrum, tells you the bias of each source, and even lets you compare how different outlets are framing the same event. For example, the recent federal health agency layoffs. Left-leaning news described the layoffs as a major crisis, calling them a bloodbath that could harm important public health work like tracking diseases. On the other hand, right-leaning news saw the layoffs as positive change. They called it a win-win for taxpayers, which could save $1.8 billion a year. Both sides agree the layoffs and changes were happening, but they strongly disagree on what it meant. Ground News lets you compare these side by side so you can actually see the bias and decide for yourself what to believe. You can also see things like how news sources are covering a particular story, political leaning of news outlets, and the blind spot feed where you can see stories that are disproportionately covered by one side of the political spectrum. In a world of clickbait and echo chambers, having access to all perspectives is more important than ever. That's why I love Ground News. It helps me cut through the noise and stay truly informed. And right now you can get 40% off the Vantage plan for unlimited access. Just hit the link in my description, ground.news/inside, and start seeing the news differently today.
And it's a helicopter and they're zooming down on it, you know, and I get the phone call and I go, you know, this was not my particular office yet.
Yeah.
But I walk, and I live downtown at there. So I walked over to see it. This is another name. I'm going to call him Mark. So Mark's office was like one of the first ones to get hit. So I go my hat down, I walk over there, and they're, you know, walking out with boxes full of stuff, right? Boom, boom, boom. And you got FBI in the jackets, and you got SWAT team with their ARs, full of tactical gear. And I'm like, bro, these guys are not playing. Like, what the hell is going on? And then you watch the news because you want to kind of see what happened. And it says, oh, they seized $2 million from this Bank of America on this, you know, all these damn accounts with millions of dollars. So now I'm like, oh shit. Now all my money I had to say is not safe. So I got to get this money out because like they're coming for me. I already know for a fact.
Right.
Now, mind you can't do all these large withdrawals without drawing a lot of attention as well. So I'm pulling $9,000 out. You know, I'm just pulling money out, you know, here and there, just under 10 grand every time, you know. I think I had like a shoebox full of 500 grand here. And then, you know, at this point in time, that's like my run money. Like, because once they catch me, they're going to lock up the accounts and, you know, seize shit. And I don't got no other way to pay an attorney because that's one of the ways they ensure that they make sure that they win. You know,
yeah. You don't have
they cripple you. You know, it's not a fair fight. You know,
Right.
in any way, shape, or form. They got a damn 96% conviction rate, and they don't play fair. And it is what it is. 98, 97, something like that. Yeah, they don't play fair. I mean, anybody understands the federal government? Like I used to be. Don't get me wrong, I'm a patriot. I love America, but I grew up on military bases. But I always was naive. Like they're the good guys. Not saying they're not, but they will beat bad guys to catch bad guys, which is like, hey, look, no, you got to play by the rules. We don't, you know, you know what I mean? But life's not fair. So ultimately, the feds came and they, I remember I actually was sitting on my couch with my girlfriend. I just smoked a bowl and I hear this noise. And, you know, like being in a high rise, you sometimes, I don't know if the wind makes it move. It's just, you hear these just different odd noises sometimes. And I say, hey, did you hear that? She goes, oh, no. I was like, oh, all right, maybe nothing. I heard it again. And as I started walking to the door, like maybe something at the door, you know what I mean? And as soon as I got to the door, FBI, make a big old commotion, and they surrounded the whole building. So it turned into them explaining, hey, your search warrant for this, that, your apartment. You know, mind you, they didn't search my car. They didn't have a search warrant for my car. That's where I had my cash, thank God. So, and if anyone's ever been to a federal search warrant, they dog the shit out your house. They don't care about nothing. Like,
Yeah, they'll trash it.
trash it. I don't know if it's intentional or if they're like, but they trash it to a point you almost feel traumatized, like at the end when they got done. So we're in handcuffs the whole time. I'm literally thinking I'm going to jail because I've never been through this process. We're handcuffed, and they take anything with a hard drive, any documents, all kinds of weird shit. Money, they took money, cash, they took just all kinds of random stuff. In addition, they hit my office. I had like 100 and some computers, just took everything. And then at the end of it, they said, okay, unhandcuff me and leave. I'm like, well, what the fuck? What just happened here? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I couldn't even stay there. I had to go check into a hotel for a week. It's like, I just didn't know what the fuck just happened. Mind you, we get back, clean everything up, and nothing fucking happens. Like, nothing for months. I'm trying to get my shit back from OPD. That's what they said it was at. Mind you, it's too hot for Gunnar to do anything in Orlando. So I had a friend going to the Dominican Republic. Oh, no, he used to work for me. My friend worked for me. I can say his name. He's a little cowboy, but his name was Angel. Angel worked for me. And for whatever reason, Angel went to he's Dominican, so he went back to DR. And he was out there in the Dominican Republic doing timeshare, but just like on the phone by himself, not even using a merchant, just running it through Western Union and MoneyGram, keeping 100%.
Right.
So I was like, oh shit. Yeah, okay, that's you know, that sounds like something that could work. You know what I mean? And mind you, back then, Western Union, you didn't require, they changed all the rules, not just because I'm sure other people were utilizing them for scamming, but this is way before Western Union had all these regulations and things you had to do to get your money. You literally just had to say, you could say, I think it was $2,500. And you say, hey, what's the password? Green. So you go to Western Union. You just have to know their name. John Smith sent me, and you don't have to show an ID. There's a password. You say, password's green. They give it to you. Now it's all changed, but we abused the fuck out of that shit.
Right.
But that's how easy it was. Western Union and MoneyGram both were like that. And, you know, my friend was over doing it. So I flew over for 2 weeks. Upon arriving in the Dominican Republic, first of all, I love the place. Like, it's like an adult playground, you know, like if you have a little money, you can literally get away with anything. So not only the women are hot-blooded, beautiful, the cops and people are not at all in your life. And if you have a little money, you can pay them to stay out your life. But everything costs so inexpensive.
Right.
So you could be there with 100,000 and you're living like you had 10 million in the United States. So I see the potential. I actually went ahead and outfitted an office for 20 people. And the 20 people that I hired, I should have did a little backwards, but I just assumed they were good. They couldn't even freaking take a phone call. So I was thinking to myself, it's like, damn, this sucks. I did all this money. These people can't even do it. But I'm not going to waste my trip. So I ended up just pumping out deals myself on the phone. And, I'll pump out 6, 7 deals in a day, which comes out like sometimes $12,000, $13,000 because I was doing $2,500 deals. And I had so much money over there and so much power and so much influence, but I was only staying for 2 weeks. So I realized the potential of this place. So I ended up coming back to the United States. And I said to myself, I need to do everything in my power to get back there as soon as possible. So I end up saving up, putting things away, structuring my life to now be not in Florida, but in the Dominican Republic.
Right.
So I ended up renting a villa. Mind you, it was a 5-bedroom villa. Nice, had a jacuzzi, 2 huge balconies. You got maids that come and clean twice a week. I mean, fully furnished. I was paying like $300. I mean, it was huge. Gated security. So I set up that as my home base, And when I went there, I went ahead and designed one room just as my little workstation. And I would bring like 3 or 4 different people there. Mind you, the feds know exactly where I'm at because you got a passport. I flew in over there. They know exactly where I'm at. So here I'm at now in the Dominican Republic, and I am perpetuating my scheme over there. I thought out of the long arms of the law. Little did I know, they will come get you anywhere if they want to come get you. I don't care. All these people think these non-extraditable countries and stuff like that.
They'll come get you.
Listen.
That just means that country picks you up and gives it to you. That doesn't mean shit. They'll show up themselves and come get you.
Listen, the marshal, which I'm going to explain in a little, I said that to him. I said, I should have been like one of those. He said, do you believe that? I said, of course. He goes, we will literally put a hood over your head, knock you out, and take you to the next country, and we'll get you. There's no place that you will literally be able to say, we'll take you. If we want you, we'll come get you.
I knew a guy who owned one of those military, private military
contractors
that will go into another country, watch someone, grab them, throw them in a van, drive them to the airport, stick them in a plane, fly them to the United States. As they're landing, call the DEA and say, you're looking for Akbar so-and-so. Well, he's going to be at the airport. They'll send 2 agents over. They'll pull him out of the plane, pull the bag over his head.
Here he is.
Hand him to the guy. They'll go, thank you. And they cut him a check.
Absolutely. I said, there is no place. He said straight up, we'll get you anywhere in the world. There's no, you know what I mean? We will get you. Like I said, I'm in the Dominican Republic. And I mean, like, my lifestyle, I was living large in the United States. But like over there, I was living large and in charge. I would walk around with an entourage, and I wasn't even making a fraction of the money I was making in the United States.
Right.
But the money went so far. I would have an entourage, I would have a driver, I would have a person that would buy me cigarettes. And they literally supported their families off of that income.
Right.
And we think poor, like in the United States, oh, this guy doesn't have this or these.
Yeah.
No, I'm talking about dirt floors.
Yeah.
No electricity, no running water. That's the kind of poverty that's in those countries. They don't have government food stamps or WIC or things like that. They're like, if you don't
have it, you don't have it.
That's it.
Just
yeah, absolutely. Thankfully, I think it got a little better. So when you are able to not only improve the lifestyle or just the well-living, people become very loyal to you,
Right.
And I was in a kind of a smaller town, and I got pretty well known over there because I kind of was taking care of people. I employed people, and people's lives were better for you. So they kind of protect their investment type thing. I ultimately met a female, which ultimately I remember the first time I saw her, I was like, oh shit, I'm gonna marry that woman. And sure enough, obviously, ultimately, I didn't right off the way, we ended up getting married. So this whole story kind of turns and twists into something. She ultimately was an individual in her town, and there was multiple childhood friends. Her childhood friends basically grew up, and they became the kind of the Pablo Escobars of the little Dominican Republic. There were 2 brothers, Hermanos Lopez, and it's all documented as well what they ultimately did. As I was living over there, still doing my crime and fraud, I remember meeting him because he had got wind of, it's kind of like this, when 2 people are successful, you kind of have commonality, you
Right.
know, whether it's discipline, work, or whether it's success, whatever the case is. So when I end up meeting him for the very first time, you know, me and him immediately clicked. You know, I just like, I saw this guy, I was like, man, this guy's the nicest, coolest guy in the world, you know? And you don't even realize it, but the guy was actually a stone cold killer, like a legit killer. Like, and mind you, I had, at this time, like, I didn't even hear the whole stories, but just to give you a little background, the guy and his brother was the enforcer. He was the head individual of his group or crew. And I didn't know how high up power they had, but ultimately they got arrested. They broke out of jail. You know, they killed a captain. It was like, they've got like 12 bodies. And again, I'm not a violent guy. I've never, ever been involved in anything like that. But the person that I met was just this, like, I mean, nicest guy in the world.
Right.
So, you know, I actually meet him, ultimately meet him at one of my, at my villa. He and I hit it off and we're all talking and stuff like that. And, you know, he ends up asking, hey, do you do powder? And, you know, I partied here and there when I drink and went for it. But he ends up saying, come on, I want to show you something. So I ended up like going, he actually took me down the street in the same villa, the same neighborhood. I didn't even know that. And, you know, walk inside of it and stuff like that. And first time I've ever seen anything like this. And then, like, in the corner of the house, there's nothing in there but plastic chairs and stuff like that. But in the corner of the house, the whole corner is locked up. It's like 4 feet high, 3 kilos of cocaine. And I'm like, what the, you know, I've never seen anything like that. So on and so forth. I ended up befriending them and we would actually form a really good like friendship, you know? But the thing was this, where the town that I was living at, they weren't really allowed to go there because of, I guess, their location. They still had to like do business in the shadows. Mm-hmm. But what they did is they controlled certain neighborhoods. They're called puntos or points, drug spots or stuff like that. And they like had like 26 of them across the country. And they would basically come in, get their money, and leave. This is ultimately what had happened. So my relationship with them, they ended up being killed by the police. But their younger brother, actually, when they were on the run, I provided shelter for them. Okay. So the younger brother literally was treating me like family. So I had rented a vehicle, and I loaned it to them while they were on the run. And in order to rent a vehicle, you got to give your passport. So I gave the passport for renting, let them rent the vehicle. Now they're out doing whatever they're doing. I didn't know what they were doing, but ultimately they kidnapped, murdered, and trafficked drugs in my vehicle, and ultimately got shot in a shootout with the police, and the vehicle was seized and damaged. So now the individual I rented the vehicle from wouldn't release my passport, and I was going to pay him whatever he needed, but he was trying to extort me. Mm-hmm. So I told the younger surviving brother what had happened. They went over there, and instead of getting my passport, they beat the guy so bad that he was like in a, not a, what do you call it, a life support coma? Not like death, but like something induced coma. Yeah, like, I mean, that's not what I wanted, but I just wanted my passport. But that ended up happening, so now I'm totally screwed. So I have to go to the embassy to get my passport. Now, ultimately, the reason why I needed my passport, I was trying to do the paperwork to bring my wife back to the United States. So I go to the embassy. Now, the embassy is approximately 3 hours from where I lived. So it's a day trip to go do that. Right. So I go to the embassy on a Monday, do all the paperwork, do everything I need to do to get my passport. At the end of the day, they tell us, hey, look, because the Dominican Republic power, internet, it's very sketchy. You know what I mean? Some days you get it, some days you don't. So they did not have internet service, so they couldn't issue my passport. They needed internet service to verify you got any warrants, so on and so forth.
Right.
Now, I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, whatever, I'll come back, tomorrow. They said, we'll email you when to do it. So I go back home. Wednesday, I'm starting to get emails saying, hey, your passport's ready, come pick it up. And it's just the craziest thing, like, intuition.
Yeah.
For some reason, I just felt like
the U.S. Marshals are waiting for me.
I didn't know that part. I just felt like when I leave here, I'm not going to be seeing these people.
Right.
I didn't think that. That's the weirdest thing. I just had this feeling like when I say goodbye,
yeah,
I'm not coming back. I swear to God, it was the weirdest thing. But I didn't think prison. I thought something else for some reason. And they were making fun of me, like, oh, you look so sad. Are you leaving your wife? Like, no, it's just something deeper than that. You know what I mean? So I didn't go Wednesday. They're calling me, and I didn't go. I didn't go Thursday. So Friday comes. She's like, look, your plane leaves Saturday. You got to go get her. I was like, you're right. So I had my friend Willie drive me over there. So I ended up getting in there. Now, mind you, going inside the embassy, it's a compound, dude. You got to go through this security checkpoint to go to this security, right, to go up this security. You know, it's like deep.
Yeah.
And you got Marines with M16s. You got it's a compound. So I'm all the way up to the top, second floor. Only way to go up is elevator down, stairs down. So I give my little ticket. Hey, my name's Gunnar Jenkins, here to pick up my passport. She says, oh yeah, just have a seat right there. The officer
been waiting for you.
Yeah, officer will be right with you. What? No. I've already did all this. I just need my passport. She goes, no, have a seat there. He'll be right with you. I'm like, oh shit. This just doesn't sound right. I've gotten passports before. I never had to sit down and wait for an officer. So I'm sitting down, right? And just obviously checking out the exits, you know, trying to plan my strategy. If there does go afoul, sure enough, I hear like a troop of boots going up the stairs, right? I look over, and sure enough, there's a guy with like a suit and a little badge and some Marines and some other staff. And he's got a piece of paper, a black and white piece of paper with my face on it. And I'm like, oh shit, this can't be good. He walks up to me, Gunnar Jenkins? I said, yeah, how you doing? He goes, listen, you need to come with me. No, I'm good, man. I'm good. Thank you. No, I'm good. No, you need to come with me. No, I'm pretty much good. They start being, come on, okay, that's all you got to say. I'm ready, okay. So we go and say, he goes, yeah, Gunnar Jenkins, you have warrants out of the Northern District of Texas for mail fraud, wire fraud, bank fraud, telemarketing fraud, aiding and abetting. It's like, you got the wrong guy. I've never been to Texas, which I didn't,
Right.
you know? And it turns out during all these crimes that we were perpetuating in Orlando, we thought we were smart by putting a P.O. box in Dallas and using Dallas Skype numbers, area codes. Sure enough, that basically allowed them, the Northern District of Texas, to indict us on, in addition to the other crimes we did. So he said, you should have already known this. All your friends have already been arrested. None of my friends, it really, like the individuals I worked with that were on my case, I didn't really know them.
Right.
You know, I didn't hang out with them. I don't communicate regularly. Like Mr. Rich Mendez, like we left on bad terms. So like, I was like, now I was thinking like for sure, like, oh shit, they got the wrong guy. You know what I mean? Because I didn't think the P.O. boxes and that Sky, I was like, because I've never been to Texas. That definitely wasn't me. So I was thinking like, oh shit, there's like a little.
Did they tell you the name of the charge?
Well, yeah.
Is it wire fraud?
Mail fraud, wire fraud, bank fraud, telemarketing fraud, and aiding and abetting.
Well, telemarketing fraud, you probably that should have given you, like a lot of people, they'll say like wire fraud, and they're like, wire fraud?
I never wired anything.
Like I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Like they don't realize that wire fraud covers a lot.
A lot, yeah. Almost like it could be so many, yeah. It blankets a lot of them.
And mail fraud can be, well, I never mailed anything. Did you email anybody?
Yeah.
You know.
And listen, them postal inspectors, no joke.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, they got guns. They're basically FBI agents.
Yeah, but they're one of the individuals. They do a lot of work on Ponzi schemes. Those guys are very intelligent and they are good at what they do. Because you think, oh, postal inspectors, this is the postman. No, them motherfuckers are badass too. Right. You know what I mean? Shit. So ultimately, at this point in time, now they're going to hand me over. They're going to, extradite me. So there's nothing I can do now. I'm fucked. So they take me through this little tunnel to hand me over to the Dominican version of DEA. Because that's who actually were holding me, DEA. DEA is active in the Dominican Republic. It's not FBI or, it's DEA because it's a pit stop for a lot of drug. It's like a trampoline type thing. So DEA handed me over to the Dominican version of DEA. So now I get in the middle of the backseat. I got this guy here, got AR-15, this guy here, I'm handcuffed here, and I'm going to get processed to get extradited back. So as I'm doing the paperwork, Dominican officers, they're almost fascinated with me because they realized the millions of dollars. They actually got it wrong. It said 40 million, but it was only 24. But I know it's only. Shit, God damn it, you know what I mean? But they were fascinated by it. They befriended me on Facebook right there in front of me. You know, I got to keep my phone and everything until I got to where I was at, right? So they were like mad cool with me. They let me smoke a cigarette while I was in the car. I'm drinking a beer before I left. They pumping up the music, let me jam out before they take me to the jail. We're like hanging out like for like 2 hours. Finally, we got to take you to jail. So I ended up getting into the jail. And I remember walking in there and I'm still a little buzzed off drinking. You know what I mean? I'm hanging out with these guys. So I'm handcuffed like this, smoking a cigarette. No. I remember going in. I said, hey, look, I need you to go give me a cigarette. I need you to get this. So they were like doing it.
Right.
So I get the cigarette. I'm smoking in the captain's office. I didn't even know that. I'm smoking in with the cigarette. Next thing you know, someone comes in and smacks my arm. Boom, smacks the cigarette out. And he's like, what the fuck is going on? You know, the captain, like, and basically put me in my place. So now, you know, I had to get humbled because at first everyone was like doing what I needed them to do. They start to process me and they're about to put me in the cell. And if you guys ever seen a third world prison, I mean, shit, America's prisons look like a damn resort. I'm not even exaggerating. I go put in the cell and it's like, I mean, 6 by 8 maybe. It's like 7 people like layered on top of each other. There's no air conditioning, no circulation, no windows, a hole in the floor for a toilet, no running water. No, I mean, I was like, no, I ain't going in there. No. I said, look, I'm not going in there. No, I said, look, dogs in my country live better than that. Ain't no fucking way I'm going in there. And sure enough, ultimately I got my, you know, what I wanted. I paid $300, got my own cell. I paid the guard and got me all my brand new sheets, blankets, and everything of that nature. Now, mind you, they don't have the same system as Americans do either. So if you want something such as food, hygiene, so on and so forth, you got to either have your family bring it to you or you got to pay for it. You know, they give you one thing in the morning, which is, I think, like a little biscuit. After that, nothing happens. But mind you, if you have money, you have the freedom to buy and indulge in whatever. You know, I was getting manicures, pedicures. I even paid the officers to let me go gambling at the casino on a Saturday night because, you know, it's what, like I said, their salaries are so poor and they don't have supervision.
Right.
So they had the freedom to do what they want to do. Ultimately, I stayed there in that prison and there was news of the fact that I was held there. So at one point in time, somebody tried to break me out to take me, to hold me for ransom or some shit because they locked the whole prison down. Because I thought I was going, because I'd never been extradited anywhere. So I thought, I didn't know. So they come in there, they hold the thing. Yeah, we're here for the American here. They're like tactical gear. You can't see nothing but their eyes. So yeah, we're here to take they had a piece of paper with my name on it. And then they locked everything down and I'm all locked in my cell. And then the next morning when I'm like, hey, what's happening? I'm supposed to go. Because I wanted to get back to the United States because I thought as soon as I get there, I could make a bond and get out. I didn't know like how the feds work, but so that's what I thought. So the next morning when they unlocked everything, they said, no, those weren't even, they were trying to get you. I'm like, what? They're like, yeah, there was some individuals that wanted, and I don't know what they were trying to do, but it wasn't official. So ultimately, I waited there 6 weeks. A marshal came, picked me up, extradited me back to the United States. And here I am.
And what and you get a lawyer?
Yeah, well, I got
what
to...
What did the lawyer say?
Well, first, they took me to the first port of entry, which was FDC Miami. And at that point, I like, you know, the gravitude of the situation really didn't sink in. Like, you know, just, I don't know. I was just probably naive or wishful thinking. I don't know what I was thinking, but I just didn't sink in. But I know when I went to the bond hearing and they denied me bond, and I was like, oh shit, like I'm not coming out of this bitch until the end. You know what I mean?
What were they offering you?
Oh, I signed a plea for 5 years.
Okay.
What I actually got was 10 years.
Okay. How come? Why? What happened there?
I think how the feds work, it's one of those things called the dummy deal. Yeah, my judge was a dick. You know, I remember getting sentenced. Look, it was the craziest shit because you're sitting there waiting to get sentenced. You know, you got your guidelines, which shows you what you're going to get. You sign a plea, says I'll give you 5 years, you know. So you're thinking, okay, I don't know, I guess that's like real.
Yeah.
I was in the news, signed a plea for 5 years, you know what I mean, as well as other individuals in my case. So you're going to go to court, and I'm thinking like, oh shit, I'm about to get this time and go home soon, you know. Sure enough, I'm sitting there, and the damn judge says to me, my attorney says to me, don't say too much, just, you know, So I just said what I thought was right. Your Honor, I knew what I was doing wrong. Anything the court imposes on me, I accept willingly.
Thinking the max you're getting is 5 years.
I think I'll go, yeah.
Right.
If hindsight, I wish I would have said so much more. Like, this person's sick. I need to be. I could have said all kinds of shit. But I just took it like that. You took a break for 15 minutes before the judge does the ultimate sentencing, and I come back in. He starts off by giving this little speech about how white collar crimes have begun slaps on the wrist. And I'm like, oh shit, this doesn't sound good. Like, what? Okay, but maybe he's just trying to sound good for the court writings or some shit. Yeah, I need to make an example. I'm like,
example?
What? Hold on, not with me. The next guy, but not with me. Like, you can definitely make an example, but don't do it with me. And sure enough, he started doing 120 months. I'm like, what? Hey, I said to my attorney's like, shh, quiet. Yeah. He goes, shh, quiet. I was like, oh, I could have sworn. I thought he said 120 months. It must be like probation or some shit. I don't know what the fuck. Sentence 120 months, federal prison. What the fuck just happened? I just got 10 years. And sure enough, shed a tear.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm sure.
It's one of those things, like, you know, I'm
cried
man
like
enough
a
to admit
small
it.
child.
Yeah. And fucking shed a tear because it's like, I'm in this hellhole for another. Damn.
No, the crazy part was the next guy he was talking about, his sentence was me. I was in the same cell waiting for him to come back.
Well, I didn't mean like next case, you know what I mean? I was saying like the next guy, get his ass.
I'm telling the part that he said nobody in this case is getting less than 10 years. You forgot about that.
Oh, yeah, he did. Yeah, he did say that.
And I was next.
He was next, yeah.
So we pass him in the hallway going, yo, bro, it's going to be bad.
No, we've got in the cell. We got in the cell. I was like, he said, look at me. I was like, 10 years. My man was like, no, stop lying to me. I was like, dude, I can't lie about that. Like, I got fucking, I mean, just look at my face. Like, I was probably pale as a ghost. It was just one of those things that, like, I mean, until, like, first of all, it's very, very imposing, very intimidating being in a federal courthouse.
Yeah.
You know, they got
and the
these
courthouses look like they look intimidating.
history. Like this thing, like some real shit's gone down here. You know what I mean? They got paintings from freaking, like, I don't know when, I don't know. It just looks like history. Then you got this big imposing judge, you know, that has an incredible amount of power over your life. Sure enough, you definitely earned your way in front of him.
Right.
Majority of us, you know what I mean? But like, depending on how he feels, now they got guidelines, but they can go above or below. It's fucking, they're like federal judges.
Right.
And they have an immense amount of power over you, your life, not over you, but your future of your life. And I come back and I tell my buddy, like, hey, you know, they said there no one's getting less than 10 years, you know? And he's like, dude, you're lying. I can't lie about that, you know? I ultimately, you know, he ended up getting 6.5, which he thought he was going to get less as well, you know? I actually genuinely felt bad for the dude because his role would have been like a janitor getting that much time. You know what I mean? He didn't play a significant role. I've always told him that, you know?
I was gonna say mine just before I was sentenced. Like all the guys were like, "Oh, you're here for bank fraud. Like, you ain't gonna get." I'm like, "No,
yes.
man, I think I'm gonna get probably 10 or 12 years." And they're like, "Bro, they ain't giving
Maybe
you no
2.
10 or 10." I come back with fucking 26 years. Guys are like,
What the fuck?
"What?" I'm like 316 months. They're like, "No." I'm like, "Yeah." I remember this one guy was a gay guy. He said, "Oh my God." He didn't throw the book at you. He jumped over the
bench.
Yeah, he jumped over the bench and bludgeoned you with it. And I thought, the fuck did you? What, you know what I'm saying? But he was so flamboyant about it. I would have laughed if I wasn't completely
fucked up,
just stunned.
Stunned. Yeah, that's the thing. It's literally, like I said,
Yeah.
it is like, you can't even describe it. You go
it's like an out of body experience. Like you still feel completely numb. Like, right? Am I? You know, like
I experienced
almost
a death of a close family member.
Right.
And it was similar to that when I got the news.
But the death was you.
Yeah.
It was your death.
I
now.
died.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Like, what the fuck just happened? Like,
what happened with your wife? Like, where's the wife?
That's an interesting part. So I get back to the cell or the block from court. I couldn't even call that day. Like, there's just no way I could have done it. Now, mind you, up until this point, we've been there supporting it the whole time. you know. And I don't know if anyone understands how, this case, it was a sophisticatedly complicated case, had multiple co-defendants, and these individuals, it was only me and another individual that was actually incarcerated. Everybody else was on bond. Now, these guys still had big money, like still multimillionaires. So they had powerful attorneys, literally $120,000 attorneys, like working on it. And they were doing everything in their power to extend their freedom, as well as doing all kinds of tricks and stuff like that. And because we were a conspiracy.
So they're all kind of out there cooperating to try and mitigate their circumstances. And they've got the big time attorneys to help.
Absolutely. Extending whatever freedoms they have and getting them while we're sitting in there. So it took a couple of years before you went to court. And all that time, my wife was there for me the whole time. So when I finally get sentenced, I say to her, hey, look, Maria, I got 10 years. And she literally, you break my heart. I'm crying. You know, I'm so sorry. I was like, yeah, look, we need to get a divorce. I can't have you do this time with me. Like, that's completely unfair. You know, as much as you want them there.
Yeah.
But at the same token, it's really selfish. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I told her, hey, look, I got to divorce you, you know? And ultimately she said, no, I'm not going to leave you. You know what I mean? I'm going to wait. You know what I mean? Which was the greatest thing to hear. But like the same token is like, it also sucks having an individual out there because doing time in a relationship is like, what the fuck?
He's heard this. That's the guys that have the hardest.
Yeah.
The guys that have wives and kids.
Yeah.
They do the hardest time.
It sucks so bad. But as I say, you want that, but it's like a gift and a curse. I don't know how you explain it other than when ultimately she ended up remarrying, children moved on. You know, I still had to do at the time like maybe 3 more years, but it was like a weight got off my chest. You know what I mean? Like, like I don't have to worry about that anymore. Or I don't have, you know, because it was always like how hard it was for her. And it's like, yo, I'm a man, I'm a provider. I just like, you know, I can't do nothing. I'm powerless, you know?
Mm-hmm. One-sided relationship. It turns into a one-sided. All you can do at this point is, where were you last night? Send me this. Do this.
God.
Call so-and-so. I mean, that is a complete, for her, it's like, you're just, when that phone rings.
It's annoying. You're like,
you're just a drain on me. You can do nothing for me.
Nothing at all.
And for a woman, that's
ask me, and absolutely. Like I said, that's one thing I'll tell you. Anyone who understands prison destroys lives.
Yeah,
relationships, everything. It's though obviously it is what it is. If you go there, you know, I mean, whether you earn it or not, but it will destroy relationships, lives, and the craziest thing about it is the fact that like. The families where their loved one, they literally pay also a price. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whether it's like you said, sending you the money or you know, it's like it affects so many people. You know.
So you did 3 more years. When did you get out?
So I ultimately got out in November. No, I went to the halfway house, July 2023.
Okay.
So I completed that program, which was, like I said, I'm obviously aware of it.
Yeah.
Suck balls. But you know what? They got a couple of things in it. They're actually they teach you psychology. I knew some of this stuff. I didn't know some of the stuff they had titles for, but they do teach you some interesting things. Like one of the things I will always allow myself is to be a student of whatever and always learn. You know, I get to a point where I know it all. So yeah, you know, you can learn. I learned a lot in prison too, believe it or not. Prison, there are some things and walks of life in there that can be applied in the real world. That's, I feel, tangible and could be beneficial. You know, sometimes I'll be talking to her, I was like, damn, that guy needs to go to prison because he need to learn some respect, you know what I mean? So on and so forth. So there were some goods and bads. You know, I'm a real firm believer in the whole thing of like, your interpretation of the situation is negative or positive. It's what you actually bring it.
Yeah,
so,
you can make something of the prison. You get 5 years or 3 years or something. You can turn that into a more positive experience for yourself.
Yeah.
Unless you just go in there and just complain and bitch and
Yeah,
moan.
and you can either be that or you say, hey, you know what? I'm happy and grateful for this situation. I'm going to make the best of it. You know?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Start a plan, you know, come up with a business idea, work on the website.
Lots of guys have done that.
There's tons of guys, not tons, but I know several guys that went in, built entire apps. They wrote websites. They came up with complete business plans they got out and started implementing it. But I was saying when you said art app, like, I know we were before the podcast, we were talking about art app and stuff, but I've always said, like, I think I said this the other day. I was talking to somebody about it. And I said, even if you went into art app and faked your way through it,
you're going to pick up something.
You're going to pick up something.
Absolutely.
You're going to
Yeah.
learn something about
Yeah.
yourself. And I always said, like, I don't think they should release you till you've gone through it, because it's not about drugs. It's about, criminal thinking.
Psychology. Yeah, absolutely.
So you're going to learn something. If you really apply it, it might change your way of thinking completely. But even if you think, oh, I'm going to fake my way through it, and which is very difficult.
Yeah, it's going to sink in somehow, some way. Even
change.
faking it.
It will improve your outlook in some way and help restructure your criminal thinking and thought process in some way, in a better way. Maybe it might make you a better criminal. It might just make you a better human being.
It's just, it will improve.
Yes.
Now, the thing is how you apply it. But if they took our system of incarceration a little different direction, because, again, I'm from Iceland, so I'm still considered myself European and Scandinavian and whatnot. And if you look at the way that they handle incarceration, it's more about reform. And look, I'm gonna tell you, there's some real deal monsters in prison.
Yeah.
And there's some hardcore violence going on in prison.
Yeah, there's some people should never be released. Absolutely.
Like, you can get PTSD from some of the shit that you see in there.
Yeah.
Like, and I get like how people go to war and they come back like fucked up because they seen like, like disregarded human life. You see the same thing in there. Like, and a lot of people really don't understand like what goes on behind the walls, because I didn't know. I swear to God, I didn't know until I seen. Now, mind you, I didn't go to the worst of the worst. You know what I mean? I was in medium custody the whole time. You just see some of the most fucked up shit, dude. And like, people die in prison all the time. And like, we don't in the society don't even like. I don't even think it makes the news, does it?
I think medical kills more people in prison than anything.
My God, listen.
Like that was the leading cause of death.
I
in
came out
prison.
handicapped down there from medical.
Yeah, they're
Lack
horrible.
And they're misdiagnosing. Yeah.
I know guys missing eyes. I know guys that they've died from they weren't given their insulin, even though they were begging for it. I mean, there's all kinds of things that they have heart attacks and they won't treat them until they eventually die, and then they rush in there and put them on the gurney, run out like we're trying to help him. Like he's been complaining for 4 days about his heart fucking
looks good for the
him.
cameras,
right?
Yeah.
They never die in the institution. It's always he died on his way to the hospital. It's like really, because when you got him in the morning in bed, he was
pumping his chest.
He was
looked
as
like
stiff
he was
as
dead.
a board.
Yeah.
He'd been dead for hours.
Yeah,
you put him on the gurney and acted like you were, and then he died in the ambulance. The fuck
We
you
almost
did?
saved him. He just
It's horrible.
Hold on.
It's a horrible situation.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I
Oh, another thing I would say, mental health. I can tell you this right now. It's something in the prison system. Like, I want to say like 80% have struggled with real mental health.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't think society actually deals with it.
no,
And
they
I think
do.
that's
They
kind
deal with it. They put them in prison.
That's what I think that's the new hospitals for mental health now.
No,
They don't
'cause-
have.
So Ronald Reagan in '86. We used to have real mental health
That's what I'm
hospitals
saying.
all over the
Yeah,
United States.
exactly.
Reagan started closing them, and I love Ronald Reagan.
Yeah.
but he did some fucked up shit. And one of them was they stopped the funding for all of these mental health programs and all these hospitals. And what they did was now we just wait till they commit a crime and we
lock
throw
them
them
up.
in federal prison. They'll treat them there. Well, they don't treat them there.
No, they just
they
lock
they
them
put them
up.
on Thorazine or
Jesus
or
Christ,
some drug.
Wellbutrins
they're-
or Prozac or all kinds of
what's the other one? There's another-
Thorazine or
What's the other one? There's another one they love to put them on.
Rembrandt. Oh, no, I know what you're talking about. It's like, everyone likes it though. Like,
Yeah, people
put
wanna
it-
get it.
Yeah, they go to
'Cause
sleep or sleep. Right. I know exactly what you're talking about.
And
Yeah.
I mean, these guys are just like zombies, and that's it. And so yeah, I was gonna say, and then sometimes there's actually a unit in the medium security prison. There was a whole unit,
Psych units.
yeah,
Yeah.
for mental, where your roommate has mental problems, and you take care of them, and you get paid.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
My buddy Zach,
Yeah.
they call him mentors. He was a mentor. He was put in a 2-man cell with the other guy had major anger problems. He was bipolar, but extreme bipolar, and he basically you take care of this individual.
Yeah, and they'll pay you for it, right?
They pay you like $25 or $75 a month or a quarter, something like that.
I was a little GED teacher. I thought that was a big pay. I had $22. The level of, like I said, prioritization of reformity and so on and so forth, it's so small. You know what I mean? Like the RDAP thing is, you're given that at the end.
Yeah, you can't take it till the last 3 years, and if you take it and you pass it, it knocks a year off. So now you're within a few months of going to halfway.
Because that's how they want you to. But if they spent more time doing things like that, you can do things voluntarily, so on and so forth. Programs. I will tell you, at my prison, they didn't have enough things. Like there are tons of people that wanted to do better, and whether education, they didn't have it available.
You know, it's funny. What they should teach is like they should have more vocational training, like drywall, electrician, plumbing, because then you can get out and make $150,000
immediately, almost. Right. Yeah, absolutely.
So these guys are like, well, I went back to crime because I couldn't make any money. Really? Because you're an electrician or you're a plumber, or
you actually have a trade.
Yeah, you do have a trade. So if they could maybe say, hey, if you learn this trade, pass the course, we'll knock a year off your sentence. Like if they gave them those types of incentives,
they would jump on it. Absolutely, yeah. Everybody,
but they don't want to do that. They don't want to give you an incentive for. Oh, you should just want to do it. Listen, fuck you. I know I should want to, but he's not going to.
But give him an incentive. If I did learn this, it would still prevent me from doing it. So it's a win-win. Everyone win. Yeah.
Or help give them job placement in the halfway house. You're going to a halfway house. We're going to give you job placement on a roofing crew.
God, halfway house is another disaster.
I'd rather have done the rest of my time in prison than go to halfway house.
Literally another disaster. It's just so many things that are broken in the
system.
Yeah, you know.
Even if you tweak the hell out of it, it still wouldn't be perfect. There's never going to be a perfect system, but boy, it could be a lot better.
Yeah.
It could be a lot better.
At least try.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, so I totally agree with that.
So what happens after you get out? What you've been doing for the last 2
years? So since I've come home.
Where's the timeshare place?
Well, I've got a call center right now. No, absolutely not. I've actually, it's so funny too, because I've had a couple people talk to me and I was like, they're like, I think it was at the halfway house or even, I was supposed to get out. I was watching commercials and there's like, get out your timeshare or timeshare exit or there's like big business doing it. I'm like, what? That's like, I literally got like indicted on something very similar to that.
I know a guy pleading guilty right now.
For the timeshare exit one?
No, he started a company that he would get the leads. He would contact these people that are in timeshares and he'd say, I can get your money back. But we split it 50-50. And what he would do was he had a lawyer and everything, and they would go after they would go after the, I don't think it was the merchants, but whatever. They go after Visa or the bank and get them to say, hey, look, this is what's going on. You knew it was a timeshare. They had a whole argument where they would threaten to file whatever, and they would pay him back $7,000 or $12 or $18, whatever it was. And this is years later.
They would actually get that money back?
They would get the money back, but keep in mind, I'm getting you $10,000 back. He's taking 50% of it. I don't think that looks good. Like if he had done something more reasonable, like an attorney, 33% or something.
Yeah.
Either way.
But if he discloses it, is that criminal?
I don't think it is, but eventually he got
unethical.
Eventually he got indicted for some reason or another, and he's got a whole reason why he feels there was an investigation started. He ended up getting the feds came in and they got him, and he was going to go to trial, and just recently kind of decided, like, he was talking to me and I was like, listen, bro, don't go to trial. Like, no, but I didn't do this. I don't give a shit what you think you did or didn't do.
County, like
they're going to get 12 people that worked for you to go sit down.
Oh, easy.
They're going to be talking about stuff that you're like, I never said that. It doesn't matter whether you did it. So I think he's probably pleading guilty. He said he's going to. I don't know if he's signed anything yet, but yeah, I know tons of. I mean, I've done tons of guys that are doing the resales and the
Yeah.
You're the only person I know that was in on the beginning. Like, I didn't really know how that worked. I thought like it was like connected to a vacation or it was something. Yeah. But
well, they didn't call me the timeshare resale king for nothing. God, I hate that name. Yeah. So I've seen a bunch of that. So when I first came home, as of right now, I've been released and I was working with Planet Fitness. I sustained an injury with Planet Fitness and I had won a lawsuit. So since then, I have actually applied that I'm starting I don't want to give away my whole thing because I don't want someone to steal my idea.
Oh, okay.
But it's a workshop for date night that applies to my main passions as one of my passions or hobbies. I'm a sneaker head.
Okay.
Yeah. And I plan to do something. They actually, first of all, I can't even act like it's they actually have them. They have one in Vegas, they have one in LA, they have one in Miami. But I want to do a sneaker workshop for date night where they give plain white, like kind of you're doing your paintings and things of that nature, where you get all white Air Force One. I provide all the material, paint, tools, and things available, and you customize them for as a date thing. And
Okay, I didn't understand the date. The date.
Yeah,
How date
well,
night
because
connect.
they
I
have
see
like
what you're saying.
sip and paint is one. They have these things where
No, it makes
molding
sense
clay.
now.
You know, it just technically it doesn't have to be a date. So I don't think I need to put it as a
Yeah.
date. I think that's kind of like putting in a
Well,
box.
some people will go and they'll do like a pottery class where they learn
Correct.
they make a pot while they're having
Yeah.
there's all kinds of stuff like that. Yeah, yeah.
I had planned to go with my girlfriend or make fresh noodle or pastas. And that's kind of like a thing that you make it and cook. It's just something like along that trend. That's where sneakers are popular. These couple activities or workshops are popular. So something along those lines.
Hey, you guys, I appreciate you watching. Do me a favor, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell so you get notified of videos just like this. Also, we're going to leave all of Gunnar's social media links in the description box. Once again, I really appreciate you watching. Do me a favor, consider joining my Patreon. It's $10 a month, and it really does help Colby and I make these videos. Thank you very much. Oh, yeah, also, we'll leave the description for our Shorts channel and our Clips channel in the description also. Please join these channels. They need help. Thank you very much. See ya.